I wonder if did that notify you I went live? All right, cool, cool. So now we're gonna sit back and wait for everyone to join the live stream here. So we're gonna do something a little different today. Today we're going to be, hey, what's up, Paige? Paige Farms? Yeah, today we're gonna be doing answering some questions like I usually do about marijuana. But also, my wife is playing Call of Duty in the background because she kicks fucking ass at Call of Duty. She actually usually beats me, so that's just the way it is. A man has to suck in his pride and just knowing his wife is better than him. And I'm really good at games too. It kind of sucks. So yeah, anyway, everyone can go ahead and ask questions about growing. Do me a favor though, just makes it easier on me if you want to do something like this. I have to sign into chat. Okay. Oh, I can't interact with chat there. Oh wait, you know, I can do it this way. Hold on a second. I can just interact with you guys this way, I think. So if you would do it this way for me, three at signs and then your question. This makes it easier for me to see like when, because sometimes chat gets crazy, and that just makes it easier for me to point out your guys' questions. But yeah. So actually I'm gonna go like this so I can easily see this. All right, cool, cool. So welcome everybody. We got Philly Farms, we got Page Farms, we got MI Native, we got B Munger, we got Josh, Illinois, Mark Davis, Josh Edwards, so forth. I did see a question, and that was what is your watering schedule like? So basically, what we do when we water is we water every single day until you get runoff. So that's my thing right there. That's all I got to do. I recommend using a drip system if you can afford to build one. I actually have a YouTube video where I show how I build my drip system. It's really inexpensive. I think altogether it costs like well, because of the drum, depends where you get your 50-gallon drum from. So what you use as your reservoir can really change the price a lot. But I think you can buy one of those even on Amazon. I have it priced out in my book. I think it's like 50 bucks or something like that. I think that includes shipping, something like that. Might even be 80. I'm not sure. That's like the most expensive part. And then it depends what pumps you get. But everything else is just a few dollars. So I think altogether it's like 150 bucks to anywhere from 100 to 150 bucks. Just depends on where you buy your parts and what you use for your pump. The pump is really important though. You got to have like a pretty strong pump. So I think mine is a 1200 gallon per hour pump if I remember. So somewhere around about 1,000 gallons per hour is fine. That's more than enough for that size. And yeah, and then you just set it up to water every day. So that's what we do. But if you want to just water by hand, you can do that too. Especially if you only have a couple plants, it's not too big of a deal watering by hand. I recommend at least having a big reservoir though to make up a good size that'll last a few days. That way you don't have to make a new batch every day. That gets really old really fast. All right, so let's see here. I'm gonna play catch up for a second. Can you overwater with cocoa? Not really. It's really hard to overwater with cocoa. I water 3 times a day, and it doesn't overwater. Obviously, it drains very good. Even without perlite in it, it has a very good drain, and it also retains a lot of oxygen in the water. The only way to really do that is in the very beginning. So I recommend for the first 10 days to only water with a little bit of water, just enough to keep the rock wool moist. You don't want to water to run off every day in the first 10 days. Let the root system, once the root system has been established, it takes about 10 days, then you're fine. You're good to go to water every day. That's about what we do. And I suppose if you didn't have good drainage, like if you didn't have runoff at all, like I don't know, if you're using a pot that doesn't have good holes or something, then you can possibly overwater if the water's just sitting in there. But as long as it has good drainage, you're fine. It's a hydroponic medium, so it's designed for that. Sorry for the webcam quality. I actually have the webcam. My good webcam is actually facing the TV because I don't have a capture card. So that's how we're capturing her playing Call of Duty right now. And you might hear her in the background here and there, like giving callouts because she likes doing that. We usually give callouts when we're playing because we like to be helpful to our other teammates that we're playing with online. But anyway, so yeah, Vermont in the house. Fixing to get a Goliath V2. That's awesome. It's a great light. Do keep in mind it's 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet. That's how big the light is. So just make sure that you have like a 4 by 4 foot 10 or bigger for it, or a space that's like could fit a 3.5 by 3.5 foot light. No, you don't. No, Mark Davis, you do not need a day off watering when using drippers. I water every day. Organic, no, I don't. I mean, I have grown organic grows. In fact, one of our recent grows was all organic. I think that was the one of the 2 pound plants. So one of the 2 pound photoperiods was all organic. One of the recent ones we did, I can't remember which one, but it's on the YouTube channel. So if you want to check it out, that grow is all organic. Yeah, sorry, it has been a while since I haven't even made much videos. We actually still have the Blue Dream in there going. We haven't even transplanted it yet, so hopefully we'll get that transplanted soon and get that grow, going and make a new video. We just haven't made I haven't made a video update because there isn't really nothing to update on. It's just like a boring plant that isn't doing anything yet because we haven't really done anything with it. It's just kind of stagnant. Hopefully it hasn't got too root bound and it will still do its thing. If not, then we'll just, I guess, let it do its thing and it's a pretty big plant, so it's still going to be big regardless. But it'd be bigger if it's not root bound. And once we transplant, if it can get bigger, we'll have to see. Nice, Mike. So I'm still behind. I'm trying to catch up to you guys' chat here. With autoflower, when will someone need to start using carbon filters for smell? I mean, if you're really concerned about smell, I would start like almost right away because even the smell from veg actually still smells like plant. But I don't know. It might. I don't know. I would start during veg. Honestly, I would just run the carbon filter all the time if you're concerned with that. Want to see the Goliath V2 video and updates? Yeah, right now I'm not actually growing with the Goliath V2 because I don't have that because my room, my grow tent has 2 lights in it, and because it's 8x4 flood tray, and if I have a Goliath V2 and let's say a max yield next to each other, it doesn't work so well because the max yield I want it to be like 2 feet away. The Goliath I want to be like a foot to 18 inches away, and because of that, they're like this. This light will block this light a little bit, so they're not going to have good overlap. So you'd have to use 2 Goliath V2s if I was going to do that. Although I do have a Goliath V2 hanging in the bedroom right now where I grow sometimes, so I might do like a grow in there. I want to start growing other stuff in there as well, not just marijuana. I wanted to start growing some lettuce and I want to grow like a big pepper plant. I have these Peruvian peppers I want to grow, so I might do that soon, hopefully. And then I want to. She likes smoking CBDs with her THC, like a strong CBD strain. It helps counteract the paranoid effects that come from the THC when she smokes too much. And so anyway, yeah, because it gives her anxiety sometimes, and the CBD smoking the CBD with it helps a lot. So yeah, I'll be growing a good CBD strain in there, I think. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I might go ahead and throw up 2 Goliath V2s in the actual grow room, and then rock them like that for a grow. We'll see. However, I can tell you this, the Goliath V2 has the same average par. Actually, it's a little bit higher average par than the max yield. And so, yeah, it will easily do 2 to 3 pounds, no problemo. Well, it depends. It depends on Neil. That's my name too. It depends, Neil, on what you're growing, like what you expect, what you're trying to grow, how big is your space you have to grow in. You might want to start with the dwarf star. Depends on how much you're trying to grow and how much space you have, how much electricity you're allowed to use, and so forth. I water every day, Philly. Well, keep in mind the way I grow is specific to how I grow. So don't like mixed techniques. If you're growing organic, that's a different technique, right? So if you're using soil, that's a different technique. With my technique growing with coco, a hydroponic technique, then that. So when people ask me what do I do, it's specifically to my growing technique. So make sure to follow my grow book. It's like $7 for the digital copy, or my free grow course on my website. I'm not sure when we're gonna do marbles again. I'd have to do Twitch. I don't think marbles works on YouTube yet. and YouTube is just easier right now for streaming for me. I might load up Twitch again though. I hate having to set all my software to go back and forth because I have to like set my chatbot and everything to go back and forth between both things. All right, so Robert Young says, Missouri here, first time growing. I started with autos. Should I run my light 24? No, run it 18.6. 18.6 will give you the best results. When flushing, how much water to use each day until done? Just water with the normal amount of water you water with, but just water with water. So just water till you get some runoff. What I do is a flash flush though, so I wait till my plants are completely finished, and only after my plants are completely finished, then I do a flash flush where I put a bunch of water through it, and you only can do this if you're growing hydroponically. So if you're using my technique growing with coco, you can do this. You can't do this with soil. But so anyway, then I flush it with a bunch of water until there's pretty much no more nutrients in the coco. And then for the next 3 days, I just water instead of, and sometimes I put a little bit of CalMag still. I still use a little bit of CalMag, and I usually still use a little bit of liquid seaweed, just to keep it kind of healthier longer. So that if I can't get it cut down the next 3 days, then I know it's still going to stay looking decent until I can finally get it down. But usually you just use just water and then cut it down after 3 days. Is the soil burning my plants? I don't know. How am I supposed to? I can't know that. I don't know what soil you're using. How you can tell if soil is burning your plants is what kind of soil you're using. Does it have nutrients in it already? Are you putting the plant in it when it's really young? Can you flush out your microbiology? Yeah, you can. You can't really flush it out, but you can disturb the microbiology. It's kind of hard though. Once like let's say for example, mostly your microbiology is going to be the fungi growing in there, right? The mycorrhizae, which is the base for the mushrooms. But in this case, this particular type of mycorrhizae never produces mushrooms, but it's the same structure. And once that structure is built, it's really strong and it's kind of hard to mess up. So you can still water every day with that. I use mycorrhizae with my grow, so just make sure to establish that a little bit, like for the first 10 days. Which, like I said, I only water with a little bit of water for the first 10 days anyway. Is recharge any good? I don't use any extra stuff. It's all a waste of money. I've tried so many products over the years. It's all just a waste. I just keep it simple, stupid, and I just grow with base nutrients, a PK booster, CalMag. That's it. My plants die after 2 weeks. Is it the soil? It could be the soil. It could try to grow with my system. I guarantee, man, if you just grow with my system, you will have your first successful grow. Your plants will not die. Just follow it to the T and everything will work good. I have not tried Bio 365 soil. How come? I don't know. I don't know what you're doing, Zappa, so it's hard to say. You know, that's like if an art student said, "Hey, why does my drawing look like shit?" and they don't show me their drawing. I can't. There's really no feedback I can give them. Like I don't know. So I have no idea how you're growing or what you're doing. I can't answer that question. Sorry. Give me more information. I can try to answer it. Well, I don't know, Munger. Try my system. I'm telling you, it works. My system will get you up and going. It's super cheap too. Cocoa is not expensive. You can buy cocoa by the brick for like $10 to $12. Expand it in warm water, hot water. It expands faster. Or just cold water, doesn't matter. Just expand it and you're good to go. Benjamin says, Oh, are you asking me that question or just people in general? If you're asking me the question about fertilizer liquids that are 10, 30, 20, uh, that's fine. I prefer that middle number. I prefer 10, like if I were to use these exact numbers, I would prefer 10, 20, 30 for flour, um, and something like 10, 20, 20 for, or even 10, 10, 10 or 20, 20, 20 for vegging. I like a nice even numbers for vegging, or even less numbers like 10, 5, 5 or 10, 7, 7 for vegging, and then for flour, I like, like I said, I like that last number to be larger. So it's something like 10, 10, 20, or even 10, 20, 30, which is about what it amounts to with my system if you use the nutrients I use and how I use them. Could someone grow with just store purchased topsoil and generic compost? You can grow with anything. You can take a marijuana plant and just throw it in the dirt and you're going to grow something as long as you know how to grow. Have a little bit of a green thumb at all and don't kill it. But are you going to get quality marijuana with tons of crystals and it's going to stone the shit out of your fucking brain? Probably not, right? You're going to get dirt weed because it was grown in dirt. So how you grow your marijuana is important. But you could actually do a really good organic grow and get really good quality. But I recommend you using all organic techniques to get that done. I actually have a living coco video where I show like how you can do like kind of a mix between hydroponics and organics. And also what I realized with that, I need to update that too. It's actually better if you water every other day with that system. If you use my organic hydro system, every other day water is probably better. The highest, I haven't tested THC in a while, just because I think the numbers are bullshit. I just kind of gave up. Here, let me tell you why I gave up on the numbers. Is because we would go, to the store and buy marijuana, and I noticed that like some marijuana looks super crystally, but the test on it was something like, you know, 15% THC, and I'm like, that's really low. That doesn't sound like it's very good. So I bought it anyway because it was super crystally. And super crystally tells me this has got to be good stuff. Like white rhino, for example, always tests low. But it is stony as hell. It's super strong. So even though white rhino might only test at 13% THC, it's extremely potent stuff. So those numbers don't mean much to me. Another test I did is I sent the exact same plant. So I grew a plant. I can't remember what strain it was. I cut off the top bud only, right? I cut that top bud off, which was nice and big. And from that top bud, I cut it up into a bunch of little buds, right? So it's the same bud. I just broke it up into smaller pieces. And I separated it and I gave them different names. It's all the same strain, but I gave it different names. I sent it to the same company to have all of them tested with different names on them. And all the numbers came back extremely different. I'm like, well, how can that be? They're the same strain. They don't know that. I told them they're all different strains. I was just curious if the names did something. And all three came back with different numbers, vastly different numbers, like 26, 18, and I can't remember the third one right now. But that's such a huge difference it's the exact same bud. The numbers shouldn't be that different. So how can I get the exact same bud and one test from the same company is 26% and the other one is 18%? So anyway, I did a bunch of tests like that, and every time the numbers were drastically different. I'm like, okay, I can't trust these. These numbers are bullshit. You might as well just put a random number generator in your fucking thing and be like, "That's my percent." Woo! I went and bought a 33% marijuana. It wasn't very good. It claimed it was 33%. We smoked it, or she smoked it, and wasn't very good. So those numbers really don't mean anything. However, to answer your question, I think the highest I tested any of my strains, and this was an autoflower strain, by the way, I think it was like 28%, if I remember correctly. I have the test somewhere, but yeah, and that was an autoflower, so which they claim don't test as strong, but they could definitely be strong. Sorry for that long answer. I went on a rant there, didn't I? Yeah, my method on curing, I have that. It's on my. Just check out the last two videos on my free grow course. So just go to perfectsunled.com and go to my grow course. And the last two videos shows how I cure. It's something I actually learned from my grandfather. He's been growing marijuana for many years out of Humboldt, California, the Emerald Triangle or whatever you want to call it. And so really good quality outdoor weed there. And he taught me his cure, his Humboldt cure method. So that's how I cure and dry my weed. No, Gnosticism New Reincarnation is just another. It's another YouTube channel. So the way that this bot works is I have to have my main channel for me streaming, and then I need to use a different YouTube channel in order to have my bot work. And I didn't want to create a new one, so I just used the one I already had. And that's my. It's basically my meditation channel. It's like my, I don't know, esoteric ideas and views. It's what I've learned through meditation. So it's kind of a, I don't know. So it has some spiritual ideas on there, but some of it's just how to meditate, and it has some guided meditations on there. So anyway, if you want to check it out, it's kind of cool. But that is Sam playing in the background, by the way. I haven't been watching her really because I've been reading the text the whole time. What did you get your last? What was your last game? What? Babe. She has her headphones in. Hey, babe. She's right there. She can't hear me because she has her headphones in. Are you able to hear me? I mean, did you hear me at all that whole time? You didn't respond. What was your last score? So she's sucking really bad right now, but she's still in second. That's pretty good. Switching to coco was the best thing I've ever done. Yeah, me too. I'm so glad I did it years ago. It is superior in every way. What's the highest temp I've managed? I try not to go over 80 degrees, but I've grown in 86 degrees. So it just makes the buds more fluffy, and yeah, definitely don't recommend it. If you have to grow in higher temperatures, I recommend growing a sativa strain, pure sativa if you can, because sativa is used to growing in hotter temperatures and also more humid temperatures. So the sativa bud naturally is more open and less compact, and that more openness makes it harder to grow to grow mold and stuff. But it also makes it to where it can survive better in the hotter temperature without degrading your marijuana. So you can still get a really good strain. Like you can still get really good quality out of a sativa in hot temperature. So is air exchange still as important in lights out period of flowering? Can I turn down exhaust fans during lights out? You could, although I wouldn't. I mean, you're not really going to save much electricity, so there's really no benefit in doing that. I would just leave it, personally. Now, I don't do air exchange at all, so, but I understand some people have to grow that way. I grow in a closed system, so there's absolutely no air exchange. I use CO2. Actually, this last grow we didn't use CO2. That's why the plants weren't nearly as big too, because we had no CO2 in there the whole grow. Still no CO2 in there either, but hopefully we'll get some CO2 there before we flower this next plant. But yeah, anyway, I would just do the air exchange the whole time. And I leave my fan, my circulating air fan, the fan that circulates air, I leave that on 24/7. Have I ever crossed a photo with an autoflower? What are the chances of getting autoflower? I don't know what the chances are. There's books on that for breeding, but there's a good. I think there's a pretty much a mathematical way to determine exactly what the percentages are that you'll get an autoflower. But I don't see the point of doing that, because now you're going to have seeds that are not guaranteed to be one way or the other. Some will be autoflower, some will be photoperiods, and you don't know how to tell which one will be what. So I wouldn't recommend it. No, you don't ever want to use higher than 80 degree temps. Stone 420. Always stay between like 70 and 80 degrees. Don't go outside of that range really. I mean, you can go a little bit lower than that. It's fine. I try to stay within that range though. Like if I had the ideal temperature, if I can make my room just stay one temperature 24/7, it would probably be 76 degrees. I'm after 50 average for 8 plants, but got told two 600 watt is not going to do it using coco. Do I need 1000 watt lights? Um, so basically you're trying to go for, that's less than 2 pounds, isn't it? Or is that, yeah, I think it's a little bit less than 2 pounds. Hold on. Oh wait, no, hold on. What am I thinking? That's, what would 50? 50 would be like 3 pounds? I don't know, what is that? 3.1 pounds? Yeah. I'm just trying to think about. You might be able to do that with two 600 watt HPS lights. It's gonna be difficult to get over a pound with the 600 watt HPS is quite difficult. You would need strains that are just really monster growers. So yeah, I'd recommend upgrading to 1000 watt lights. Or if you don't want to use the extra electricity, each one of my lights, a max yield or a Goliath V2, are capable of producing 3 pounds per 4x4 or 5x5 area. And if you had two of those, they only use like 640 watts. I think the Goliath V2 is 670, so still under 700 watts per light. And if you had two of those up, I guarantee you will get 3 pounds with two of those lights without really even trying, as long as you're a decent grower. Do I believe that Rick Simpson oil works for cancer, which is basically just RSO? I don't know. I think if it did, that a lot more people would be using it and we'd see a lot more cancer being cured. It does seem to help people to some degree. I don't think it cures cancer, but it does seem to help. You know, I haven't seen any studies to show that it definitely helps. But yeah, I know there's a lot of companies that offer it. I used to know a guy locally where I live right now that knew a patient that had cancer, and he was taking tons and tons of that oil in order to try to get better. He did start to get better. He had a better time, but he ultimately still died of cancer. What did you end up getting though? What was your score? Oh, so yeah. She usually does a lot better than that game. Yeah, Mike, I was telling my sister about that to take like some make a marijuana oil and then mix it with DMSO because DMSO penetrates the blood barrier into your skin, and so it would go right to wherever the pain was. If you had pain in your neck and you rub that on your neck, it should just penetrate right into where that pain is and help it.
This was my score on my screen. I'll show it. It's embarrassing. Sorry. And it was just a game.
I'm not sure if they can even read that. Looks like it says, is that 22:48? That's not very good. I mean, you still got second. You still got a decent amount of
Yeah, she's only
kills.
got 51 deaths, okay? I'm at the most deaths.
Usually she gets more kills than deaths, though.
I'm gonna try something different than Shoe House. a shoot house, but not hard point.
Are you asking, Smart, if you can get a more aggressive growth in the very early stage of growing? Yeah, you can. So what I like to do is I use a small amount of bloom from day one, and that actually stimulates root growth. So I mean, you can use like the really expensive root growth stimulators if you want, but honestly, just using a whatever grow fertilizer you're using, use the bloom version of it for the first 10 days. So from seedling, feed like 200 ppm of well, this also includes adding the CalMag. So if you're growing with my method, you have to use CalMag. So use the CalMag and then use a little bit of nutrients to give about 200 to 300 ppm, and do that for the first 10 days. After that, switch to grow until you're ready to flower, and then switch back to bloom again. And it actually helps that the roots just helps the roots grow a little bit faster.
Okay. Infected. It just came up. I took it off hard point.
Huh? I thought you were playing
Yeah.
the.
I don't know why I did that. I'm gonna play shoe house, but I don't want to do hard point, so I turned hard point off. I accidentally clicked.
I mean, if you just do shoe house 24/7, there's no option to turn anything off.
Oh, okay. Well, it keeps giving me hard point. I really played like 5 games of hard point. I was gonna play different map.
Then you can go to the
Quick play.
quick play and then set whatever mode you want to play. Just do one though, because the playlist doesn't seem to work.
Yeah. Oh my god, hard point again.
Yeah, 10, 30, 20 will be fine for late flower. Like I said, I just prefer the numbers to be different. I like 10, 20, 30 or something like that.
Hard point just came up again. I'm sure they're probably bored of seeing hard point. I die a lot with hard point. Maybe play something different like realism.
Yeah, or just go to quick play and
Oh, it's too
put
late.
whatever mode you want to play, kill confirmed or whatever.
I guess I'll do one more hard point.
So NPK, I believe in nitrogen, and then I think it's phosphorus and then potassium. I think that's how that works. K is potassium. Anyway, so I prefer more potassium. So when I do my PK booster, I use a PK booster that has a larger K than P. So I think my PK booster is like I can't remember anyway. It's Psycho Flowers Potash. I think it's like a 1020 or something like that. 0, 10, 20, whatever. That's what I use as a PK booster. I recommend using PK boosters like 3 times during flower. So whatever bloom you're using, hit a PK booster on top of that, which just adds more potassium and phosphorus, and do that like 3 times throughout the grow, in the beginning of flower, middle, and then toward the end. And I usually use it for like 3 to 7 days when I do it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Is the well, I guess I don't do the Lucas formula anymore. I used to do the Lucas formula. When I switched to Psycho Flower, I stopped doing Lucas formula, but I use the bloom and grow by both of them. But you could just use their bloom. Their bloom is good. If you just use their bloom, you'd be fine. You can use their bloom the entire grow. Although I noticed that when we were just feeding the Blue Dream bloom the entire time, and it definitely wanted more nitrogen. So if you're going to veg for a long time, I don't recommend it, because that thing's been vegging for like a long time. It's just been sitting there vegging, 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 and it's in too small of a pot too for how big it is. But yeah, it's so we went back to grow for it for now. But I used to use like just Floranova bloom for the whole grow, and that works good. What would you recommend in a 3x3 with a Mars Hydro 2000? I don't know what TSW means. Run 4 to 5 gallon or more, 3 gallon for higher total yield. Well, I can answer that question without having to really answer anything else. I don't. The light doesn't matter so much as long as you're using an efficient amount of light. Mars Hydro sucks, just so you know. There are better, cheaper lights you can buy. Even do like a Schrog with like 2-gallon pots and do like 9 2-gallons or something. Usually doing like more plants, you don't want to do like too many plants, but filling it up with smaller pots and doing more plants is easier to get bigger yields than it is to, using like one big plant or a couple big plants. All right, anyway, if I miss any of your questions, I don't want to keep play catch up. So if I miss any of your questions, please ask it again and do so by putting the 3 @ symbols in front of it. So when you ask your question, start your question with that. I appreciate it. All right, so let's see. We have Neil. If I do have a CalMag deficiency, can I just replace a watering or place a watering? Hold on, what is that? That's weird the way you wrote it. Replace a watering with full ferts to a double dose of CalMag. If you have a CalMag deficiency, it's most likely not because the plant is not getting enough CalMag. It's because the plant is having some other issue and it's having a difficult time uptaking the CalMag that's already there. So there's already calcium there, right? Because most likely you're using a fertilizer that has calcium in it, or you're already using CalMag in the first place, right? If for some reason well, actually, let's say you're growing a cocoa. That's not enough calcium for the plant anyway, or mainly it's magnesium, but anyway, it's not enough CalMag for if you're in cocoa. You need more anyways if you're not already using it. So if you're not already using it, obviously start using CalMag. But if you already are using CalMag at 2 milliliters to 3 milliliters per gallon, and you're getting a calcium deficiency or a magnesium deficiency, it's not because there's not enough CalMag. It's because the plant is having other issues and it's having a hard time uptaking it. It could be the roots are getting too cold. It could be the roots everything is too hot in the room. It could be there's some sort of fungus happening. It could be that your pH is out of. Usually, it's pH is the issue. A lot of people have a hard time maintaining a good pH, even with my system, because it does require a good pH pen, and pH pens can go bad very quickly. A poor one will just give you inconsistent results, which can lead to pH deficiencies without you knowing it because the pen is telling you the wrong numbers. So usually it's a pH issue. That's the most difficult thing with my technique, is it does take a good pH pen. I recommend Blue Labs and replacing the pen every year. So autoflowers are awesome. I grow them pretty much every single time I grow. Every now and again I'll do just a photoperiod grow, but usually I do autoflowers and then photoperiods like at the same time and then finish the photoperiod. But yeah, autoflowers are awesome. There are some negatives to autoflowers. One is the smell it's harder to get them to smell really potent. It seems to be hit and miss. You can buy several seeds of the same strain from the same company, grow 10 of them, and 2 of them might just not have much smell to them, even though you grew them all the same, you cured them all the same. So that's the main negative, is getting them to smell super dank is harder. I mean, they'll still smell good, like if you crack it and smell it's good, but just being very potent, just having that natural potency without having to crack the bud. It seems that photoperids are better at that. So max yield from a single plant ever. Obviously, like the 3 pounds for sure, but outdoors it's easier to get bigger plants. I can't remember what my biggest outdoor was, honestly. Um, Trying to think what was my biggest outdoor. Honestly, I can't remember what my biggest outdoor was, but my buddies grow in the same area I grow in, and they're mainly outdoor growers, and they've done 5 6 pound plants pretty easily. So, and that's huge. That's like a plant. Like I went to his grow, and his plant was like 12 feet tall. It was massive. It was like a 12-foot tall, just giant plant. But indoors, 3 pounds, and that's an autoflower too. That was like a freak of nature though. And then I've grown 2 pound plants recently pretty easily, like without really trying. 2 pound photoperids indoors under one light. Would you run autoflowers outdoors and bring them in for 24-hour light cycle? No. 18.6 is what you want for autoflowers for the best growth. I have 4 Dutch Passion Night Queens, day 49. 3 have started flowering, 1 has not. I used bloom for the first 10 days. Have you seen all those take that long and flower? Do you think it's a photo? It's if it's by Dutch Passion, I can almost guarantee you it's an autoflower. I have, in fact, I have never purchased an autoflower from Dutch Passion and it be anything other than an autoflower. I have had them take a long time. I've had them go 60 days before for some reason. I think it was like 55 days, something like that. It was crazy before it started flowering. So, yeah. Give it time, it should flower. If it goes past 55 days, I would start wondering and maybe put it in 12/12 or something. I have tobacco mosaic disease. I've never had to deal with that. I do believe there's ways to circumvent it until you're finished growing, but I never personally had experience with it, so I can't really say much about how to do that. Guess I've gotten lucky. Whenever I get a plants that have something just really messed up about it, I'll do everything I can until it finishes. But if it's like they still have a long ways to go, I'll just cut my losses and start over. Yeah, always use more CalMag. No matter what nutrients you're using, if you're growing in cocoa, add more CalMag. 2 to 3 milliliters per gallon of CalMag. Omar's Hydro just aren't. They're not very good lights as far as how much output they put out. Their technology just isn't very good. So it's hard to get it's hard to get good yields out of those things. Like for example, they're 1200 watt. You're probably going to get like 12 ounces off of it. It's pretty much equivalent to a 600 watt HPS, but it uses the same amount of electricity. For more aggressive early stage growth, should I try Cool Bloom plus CalMag plus Roots Accelerator and switch the growth format? If you already have Roots Accelerator, you might as well use it until it's gone. But it's really a waste of money. I recommend once it's gone, try. Yeah, actually, this is a good experience. So try that, and then once it's all gone, it should last a long time. Though once it's all gone, try to just do CalMag and Bloom, and see if you ever notice a difference. Is a 600 watt light good to start with? Yeah, it's fine. In fact, I'd probably recommend to start with something like that if it's HPS. Which of my lights would I recommend for a 36 by 20 by 62 grow tent? So I imagine that 62 is the height. That must be inches. Is that right? Hold on, let me convert that to feet. I can't think in inches. Well, I'm not sure I could if I trained myself to, but so you got like three by less than 2 feet. So the biggest I would go is a dwarf star for that size. If you don't mind only getting like a max of 6 ounces, I would just do a Perfect Sun Mini. for that grow space. But if you want to try to get the
Okay.
maximum amount out of that grow space, then
Okay.
I would use a dwarf star. Yeah, I've topped autoflowers even by accident. I don't recommend it. Just doing some low stress training is good. What was your score that game? What was your score that game?
Um, four. Hold on.
I can't read it from here.
40, 33, and
So
6 defense.
so she got 40 kills and 33 deaths and 6 defends. That's good. First place. Awesome. She's
I hope I'm playing something else besides hardpoint.
she's kicking some ass getting in that first place.
If this is hardpoint again, I'm gonna. Okay. Do domination on shoot house, and then I'm gonna do some realism or different maps because I don't want to just play shoot house.
What is a better light for the price than Mars Hydro? HPS. Yep. HPS is cheaper and it's better. Honestly, because it it actually outperforms Mars watt for watt. So there's really no like LED is supposed to outperform watt for watt, but their technology just doesn't for whatever reason. I don't know if they're the lenses they use or something. I don't know. So yeah, I would just go HPS because you produce the same amount of heat. Watts per watt, so you're gonna get the same amount of heat. So if you're using a 600 watt HPS versus a 600 watt LED, you can get the same amount of heat. Doesn't really matter. So you might as well just use HPS in that. Anyway, that's what I would do. Or you can use LEC technology. I think that's still cheaper. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the prices of a LEC system, LEC system, which is basically just a ceramic metal halide. So if you look up actually it's cheaper just to buy a ceramic metal halide named that because it's the same technology. And those can actually you can use the 320 watt one or the 600 and what is it? I can't remember what watts they come in. It's like 300 and 600 watt. But if you use their 600 watt system, that will definitely beat a Mars for sure. Have I ever used human urine? I have not, but I've seen other growers in their garden that just pee on their plants. Not on the plant, but they pee around the plants to give it some extra nutrients. That one guy, what's that one guy? He does the organic gardening outdoors in Nevada. I forget his name now, but it's all organic gardening and no-till. And he has like, I believe he still lives in Nevada. And he likes to grow all of his food. He's a raw foodist, so he eats all raw food and juices and stuff. Anyway, he'll do that sometimes. He'll just go and pee in his garden.
I got B.
All right, trying to catch up again here. All right, so Adam says, if I miss your question, just do at symbols and ask again. Just got a blue lab pH pin after calibrating it. I find it takes a long time to finally settle on the number. Do you notice that with how long does it typically wait? So sometimes it can take a little bit. I don't really worry about it too much. So I put it in there and I just go to 5.8 and I kind of use that initial reading. If I leave it in longer, yeah, it might drift to like, let's say like just 30 seconds or so to 60 seconds. And that reading is what I use. So for about 30 to 60 seconds, if it tells me 5.8 and it stays at 5.8 for like 36 seconds, that's good. But it might change to 5.7 or 5.9 if I left it in there longer, but I don't worry about that.
C.
I think Spider Farm lights they use the bar lights. I think that's what you're referring to, and their drop off is really bad. I don't know what it is about what lights they put in there, but they don't have good penetration. So you might as well just use fluorescent lights at that point. Yeah, distilled water is going to be better than tap water if your tap water is bad. If your tap water is decent, like 80 ppm or something like that, then tap water is good too. It has some CalMag in it already. It does have chlorine, which is not a big deal with my grow system. Chlorine doesn't matter. But if you're really worried about the chlorine, you can just let it sit for 24 hours, 12 to 24 hours, and that will evaporate. So even if I'm using the coco line of nutrients, should I add full recommended dose of CalMag and then dilute? Yeah, I would still use 2 milliliters of CalMag per gallon of water. Oh, by the way, to further answer that question though, if you absolutely are dead set on growing with LEDs and you, for whatever reason, want to buy a cheap one that just isn't going to be as good as something that uses good technology, I honestly recommend just doing HPS or LEC technology at that point because honestly, the price is going to be cheaper or the same, and you're going to get better results. But if you're just dead set on it, I would look up like a generic design that uses cob technology or SMD. So that's what I would do. So find like go to Amazon and just look at the lights and look at reviews. I mean, I can do this for you really quick. It doesn't take very long to find one that's decent and just look up cob or SMD because there are some some companies that some Chinese companies that will produce a decent cob or SMD LED that will have pretty good output for the amount of watts it uses. And there's some things you want to look for though, like try to find one that has a chart that shows you the numbers for a 4x4 area and then do the math really fast for 17 points of measurement. And if that equals 500 or more for a 4x4, then it's a decent light. And no problem, Smart Strategies. Have a good night. Will a flower still produce buds at 85 Fahrenheit or 90 Fahrenheit? Yes, but they're going to fluff up because in order to try to breathe and survive in the heat, the buds need to do this. They need to open. So you're going to get fluffy buds, which is why I recommend staying under 80 degrees. And if you have to grow in hotter temperatures, grow a full sativa because sativas naturally grow in hotter temperatures, so they're better for it. Just use a little space heater, Adam. That's what I do. Little space heater works great. If that's 71 Fahrenheit, that's fine, Adam. 71 Fahrenheit's fine. You're going to get nice compact buds. So, yeah. It might not grow as fast. I mean, make sure your lights are as close to your plants as you can get them. If you mean 71 is the highest your room gets, that's the highs. Definitely keep your lights a little bit closer. Don't burn your plants, but try to get them as close as you can without burning your plants. And it should be all right. But I recommend if that's your highs, if 71 Fahrenheit is your high for the day in the grow room, I would recommend either doing a closed grow like I do, so it's easy to heat up. If you're exchanging air, it's gonna be hard. But if you do a closed system like I do, it's really easy. Just use a space heater, and it keeps it warm really easy. It uses very little electricity. It only comes on every now and again because it doesn't take much to keep an 8x8 area warm. Yeah, the LEC technology is a good technology. It's not bad at all. Cool, Mike. Yeah, once you get some results, Mike, feel free to send me some photos to the website. I like seeing, when people send me their photos of what they did. It's kind of cool. Like here, I did this with my dwarf star, or I grew this with my whatever. It's pretty cool. Will a 1000 watt HPS fill a 4x4, or should I stick with? Yeah, yeah, of course it will. 1000 watt HPS will do a 5x5 for veg, no problem, and a 4x4 for flower. That's what it's designed for. Even a 600 watt HPS can do a 4x4. It won't do it as well, but it can still do it. Well, SR, just go to Amazon and look up SMD or Cob lights, Cob grow lights or SMD grow lights, and find one that uses the same watts as what you're using now. Yeah, especially roads. If you use a closed system, then reptile lights, yeah, will definitely help heat up the area. But honestly, a space heater is made to produce heat, so it's going to use less electricity over time. And it's not like reptile lights are really going to add any benefit to your plant. So I don't know. I never use Betamix. I don't grow in soil. When I do grow in soil outdoors, I just use an organic soil. Doesn't matter the brand to me. I just go to a hardware store like a farm store was what I meant to say, not a hardware store. Sometimes hardware stores will have a decent organic mix. I'll just go to like a farm store or something, and I just buy some organic stuff. I just like to feel it and look at it. I just as long as it's dark and it feels spongy and it has good drainage, and if not, I can throw some perlite in there, and yeah, that's all I do. And I just grow organically. Yeah, you can do two dwarf stars and a 4x4, but honestly, you'll get a bigger yield if you just use one max yield or one Goliath V2. So one Goliath V2 or one max yield will do better than two dwarf stars yield wise. Do you think stock size can correlate with yield? Um, Not always. I mean, for example, my wife is in the background pumping her fist because she did good again. First place again. Nice. Oh, by the way, if any of you guys like Modern Warfare, me and the wife have been playing Modern Warfare a lot lately. This game is absolutely amazing. And if you ever want to play in a party with us, like we have my nephew sometimes joins us and we run parties. We've been doing 3v3 with him, for example. We get our butt kicks a lot in that one for some reason. But yeah, we'll go and do different games and stuff. And sometimes we'll just do I'll do like a private game, and we'll all like fight each other just for fun with snipers or something like that. But anyway, if you ever want to come and have fun with us and play some Call of Duty, here's how you add me. Wait, hold on. Why am I going to do that? Hold on a second. That's stupid. I don't have to do that. I'll just type it. Duh. There you go. So just add that name. That's you have to do the pound sign and the number. That's my Activision name. So when you log into Modern Warfare, if you have Modern Warfare, you should already be familiar with this. When you log on to Modern Warfare and go to social to invite people, whatever, there's also a way to add people. Just click on Add Friends, and then choose the Activision for the drop down for adding, and then just type Karmic with a capital K, pound 4583482. So just copy that number right there, write it down somewhere, and just add that to, and I'll know it's you because no one adds me just randomly. So if I get any friend requests in the next couple of days, I'll know it's one of you guys, and I can add you. And if you ever see us online and want to join a party, just let me know, and I can invite you to our party, and we can rock and roll and shoot some faces. Shoot some motherfucking faces. And that's my PC name. I have another one that's Karmic Overflow. That's my PS4. But I've been playing on PC more lately than the PS4. Ever since I decided to buy it on PC, I'm not getting used to using a game mouse and stuff. I'm still getting used to the controls. They don't feel like second nature yet. But yeah, anyway, it's fun. I dig it. Hey, what's up, Rex? That's awesome, man. Girl Scout crack. That sounds interesting. That sounds like a good combo. Colombian Gold. That's an old one. Hopefully it's the real Colombian Gold and has that nice sweet smell and everything.
Give me those tags.
Oh yeah, sorry, just saw that mini in 420. Yeah, nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by the live chat here. Master Junk says, my pH doesn't want to budge. Growing in cocoa, tried flushing pH stuck at 6.8. So, do you mean that? So, do you mean that after you have flushed the cocoa and then you put in, let's say, 5.8, you pour in 5.8 water, and then you take a shot glass and get the runoff, and then you measure the pH of that runoff, and the runoff is 6.8, and you can't get that to change? If your plant is healthy, don't worry about it. If your plant looks good and is growing, everything's healthy, don't even ever take your runoff. The only time you ever want to measure your runoff is if your plant looks sick. So, it doesn't look healthy and you can't figure out what's wrong with it. Then you want to check your runoff and try to fix that. But if everything's healthy, don't try to fix that because you can actually mess something up. There might be some simple reason why it's doing that. But it might just be what's your ppm of the runoff, because typically what would make that happen is a well, actually that would make it go more acidic. Um, the only thing that really makes pH go higher like that is only thing I found in my experience has been if your pH pen's good, you've already verified that, you've checked it several times with using a 5.3. Basically, take your 7 and your 4, mix them half and half, and that should give you a 5.3 pH. If you've done that test and your pH pen is solid and everything's good,
2312 for shipment.
2312, nice. I kick ass on shipment. I'm good at that map.
I was
With an
surprised with the
R90,
shotgun.
with the R90 shotgun, I just jump shoot everyone in the face. It's fun. Anyway, so if you know the pH pen is good and everything's good like that, and you flush the shit out of it, and then you water it with 5.8 and 6.8 keeps coming out. As long as the plant's healthy, like I said, I wouldn't worry about it. If the plant's unhealthy, the only thing I know of in my experience that causes that is some type of root issue. There's either root slime in there, algae, too much algae has grown inside there somehow, um, but which led to slime. Not the algae is not really a problem; it's the slime that can build up after that. Like the same kind of slime that builds up in a reservoir. Make sure that your reservoir is clean. Whatever you're watering in, make sure that doesn't have slime in it because that can add different kinds of bacteria and stuff. Some other type of root disease or fungus can cause that to happen. But yeah, so that's the only thing I know of that can cause the pH to go higher like that. Unless you have some weird buffer inside your medium that I don't know about. Like, is there lime in it? Is it just pure cocoa? Or make sure it's pure cocoa. Make sure you don't actually have buffers in there like lime or something else is in it. Dan, excuse me. You know what? I should mute my mic when I do that. Sorry about that. I have a button right here to do that with. So Dan says, I'm growing autoflowers in coca, I think you mean cocoa, with perlite using Lucas Formula Flora Nova feeding chart. When they flowered, the leaves at the top of the plant turned yellow and with rust-looking spots. So it could be a few different things. One, always make sure your pH. I'm telling you, most every single time there's a problem with plants, it's a pH issue. Almost every single time. Because look at you're using the Lucas formula. Are you giving it CalMag on top of that? Because that's super important. Always, always, always use 2 to 3 milliliters of CalMag per gallon of water. Super important. Always, always do that. No matter what nutrients you're using, do that if you're growing in cocoa. Um, it looks. Let me see. Hold on. Let me try something. Yeah, yeah, looks fine. I could probably zoom out a little bit, maybe. Actually, that's not even doing anything. What pan doing? Oh yeah, pan. Yeah, looks like it's fine. So anyway, most all the time when there's issues with plants, it's a pH issue because the thing is, if the nutrients are there, then the plant has everything it needs. If you're feeding it every day, you're following my. When I answer these questions, it's I assume you're following my grow method. You're not using some other grow method. So I assume that you're using Florinova feeding chart and you're growing in coco, like you said, and perlite, and you're using my feeding method. You're feeding every day to runoff, right? All that's important. I'm assuming that you're doing everything that I do, feeding every day to runoff, etc. Your temperatures are good, all that. You have everything else in check. Your humidity is good, your temperatures are good, everything else is good, and you're having this issue. You're using CalMag. If you're not, that's probably your issue. Add CalMag. If you're doing all that though, CalMag and everything, you're still getting that issue. It's most likely a pH problem, or or the temperatures. Like I said, if you've already ruled everything else out, if your temperatures are good, humidity is good, everything else is good, the then the only thing it could be if it's not pH is some sort of disease. So don't try to fix it by putting more stuff in it that it's not able to take up in the first place. You're just going to burn the roots and make the issue worse, right? So if the plant's having a hard time uptaking certain nutrients, there's a reason for that. Putting more nutrients on it isn't going to make it easier for it to uptake those nutrients. It's just going to make it worse. So how important is humidity to a week-old auto? Can I get away with 30% relative humidity? You want higher humidity when the plant is vegging and young, like 80% humidity. 90% even is fine for the first few days. Um, yeah, so 30% is really, really low. It's going to have a hard time vegging fast. It's not going to, you're still going to get a plant. It's still going to grow and everything should be fine. But it's not going to grow as healthy and as fast during its veg stage. Even during flower, 30 is pretty low. I don't recommend going lower than like 50. So if you can, it's really easy, honestly. To bring humidity up is super easy. It's a lot harder to bring it down. You need like an expensive equipment, but to bring it up is easy. All you have to do is get a bed sheet. Go to Goodwill, buy a bed sheet, a 5-gallon bucket of water. Fill up the bucket about halfway with water. Put the bed sheet in it. Soak it completely. Pull the bed sheet out of the bucket. Hang it up on the ceiling somewhere. In front of the fan, so the fan's kind of blowing back and forth on the sheet as well as your plants. And then keep that bucket full of water, and it will siphon the water up into the sheet, and then the fan will help it evaporate faster, and that will make humidity go up. So that's an easy way to raise your humidity. How do I know you're live? I don't know, because I'm answering live questions. That would be a big brain idea right there, right? If I wasn't live, how could I be answering everyone's questions live if I wasn't live? I don't know. Big brain stuff right there. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention that too. When you're taking your pH, take it right away. Because if your water has any buffer in it, that runoff is going to change, right? So you got to check the runoff instantly. You got to water it and have a shot glass ready and check it right away. 5.5 to 5.7. Try doing 5.8. Water with 5.8, Dan. That's what I do. So 5.8 every day. And the reason why I do that is because sometimes the pen can be a little bit off, and if you're doing 5.5 and your pen's off, you've now pretty much killed your plant by going to 5.3 without knowing it. Like your pen says 5.5, but it's wrong. It's actually 5.3, and you're fucking your plant up. Um, so I recommend 5.8. That gives you a good buffer. If your pen's a little bit off, it won't matter. So 5.8 pH. Joshua, I do 18.6 for autoflowers. That's the best. I've done all different kinds of hours, tested over the years. My biggest plants and best plants have always been 18.6 with autoflowers. So yeah, master. What brand of cocoa? It sounds like there might be some buffer in the cocoa itself. And if you're, I mean, it could all make sure you're checking the pH right away, right? Like you're the runoff right away. I imagine you're, like I said, you're watering it and then right away waiting for the water to come out,
Right.
holding a shot glass there, like with the pot tilted, waiting for it to come out, and then testing that runoff right away. If that's what you're doing and you're putting in, let's say 5.8 and it's coming out 6.8, um, and you're doing that right away, it might be that there's a buffer in the cocoa, or like I said, there's some sort of like growth inside the root zone. Like any type of slime type of growth can cause that to happen. Make sure you're using black pots so no light can get in there. Because UV can penetrate any other color. The only color UV light can't penetrate is black. So use black pots. That's why we grow in black pots.
Rose right now. Okay.
All right, if I miss your question, I don't want to keep playing catch up. So if I miss your question, just ask it again with the at signs. Does the brand of HPS matter? Not really. For years, when I did HPS, I just grew with generic bulbs. I grew with Apollo bulbs. And I think when they stopped making Apollo bulbs or they were harder to find, I used, I think it was called Phison or something like that. It's just a generic bulb because I would only use it for one or two grows and then toss it. It's only 20 bucks a bulb, right? For a 1,000 watt, 600. I think they're 600 and 1,000 watt bulbs are $20. So $20 for a bulb, use it for like two or three grows, toss it out, get a new one. And that was actually cheaper than using something like Hortilux, which is like $80 for a bulb, and using that for more grows. It was still cheaper to use the cheap bulbs. So the cheap bulbs don't have as long of a lifespan, but they still produce all the same good stuff. Now for double-ended bulbs, once I switched to double-ended HPS before I went to LED, I would use the Oshio bulbs. It's You can use a generic double-ended bulb too. Just make sure it has a good color spectrum. Most of them do nowadays because everyone tries to copy what's best. So as long as it's designed for growing, if it's a double-ended HPS bulb, it's most likely designed for growing, and those have a better spectrum. So yeah, if you're worried about if your cocoa already has salt in it, just flush it really good. Like put it in some sort of container that has a bunch of holes in it, or just put it in the pots and then just run your hose because you don't want to use good water for this. Just run your hose water as long as your hose water is decent. Just run your hose water over it for like a long time, like several gallons. Let several gallons flow through it. Now it's all nice and cleaned. Well, Rex, it's one of those powers I got. I'm able to transport myself into the past and future. Hey, thanks, brother Rick. I appreciate it. No till is awesome. That's pretty much what we do outdoors in our garden. So we do a no till organic gardening for all our vegetables and stuff. I wouldn't say I'm on the Trump train, but I've been saying this from the beginning. I have no issues with Trump. Trump has been fine. I had no issues with Obama either. I'm not left wing. I'm not right wing. So I'm a centrist. I don't really care about politics that much. And I agree with some things on the right. I agree with some things on the left. So I'm just in the middle somewhere. I don't take any particular stance. But Trump hasn't done anything crazy. I think that the left is going crazy. Not all the left, but I think there's certain people on the left that have lost their minds and they're just crazy. They've gone cuckoo. Pelosi is one of those cuckoos. Pelosi is a fucking nutter. All those people are nutters. That fucking Ilhan Omar, she's a fucking nutter. All those people that think Trump's just like some crazy racist tyrant are all fucking nutters. The right doesn't do that. When Obama was president, they didn't go. I mean, some of them did. Some of them were extreme, or like Obama's a Muslim, whatever. But for the most part, the right didn't freak out and like want to impeach Obama or something, just because they don't like the guy. Anyway, so The only thing I haven't looked at yet is what he did with Iran. I haven't looked into that, so I don't know if I agree or disagree with it yet. I have no opinion on it because I don't know anything about it. And I kind of don't like his stance on China, but I don't know. Other than that, Trump is fine. He hasn't done anything crazy. Yeah, that's fine. They'll do that. Master says that his roots are poking through his fabric pot, so they'll do that, and then they'll die, right? So they'll poke through the fabric pot. The air will kill them, and in the inside the pot they'll grow back in. They'll grow in shoots back in. That's what air pots are designed to do. They're designed to do that. So, hey, thanks, Page Farms. Sorry if it's a little too late and you're already gone. With HPS, should you go with the vented hood or with the wide reflector? Well, it really depends. A vented hood is good to help control temperature. So if you want that, you can do that. If you do that, make sure that you're just cycling the air. If you're gonna use a closed system, it makes it a little more difficult because to do a cool hood, because you don't want to pull all the air out. So actually, never mind. If you're going to do a closed system, don't even bother with that. It's pointless. So if you grow like I do with a closed system, then just use the wide reflector because you're going to use AC to keep the room cool. If you're going to be circulating air, then get a vented hood. It makes it easier. Do I use a scrubber fan? No, I don't use scrubbers at all. I don't worry about smell. I don't care what my neighbors think. It's legal to grow where I am, and I don't really care if my neighbors don't like the fact my house smells like marijuana. Don't walk next to my house, you know? Honestly, it's not like it travels all the way to my neighbor's house or something. No, coco is super easy to use. Super easy, man. I'm telling you, I've done all different kinds of grow systems, and the reason why I stuck with this one is because it's so easy. It's extremely easy. The learning curve is super easy too. Look, my wife followed my grow system. Her very first grow, she grew a 10-ounce plant. That's how easy it is. A 10-ounce autoflower plant, by the way. Make that clear. It's not easy to grow a 10-ounce autoflower plant. She did that her very first time, all by herself, without my help. The only help she had was my brain, because I was just telling her what to do, just like I tell you what to do in the grow book or in my grow system, my YouTube channel. Let's see here. Yeah, hose. So the thing with hose water is hose water has buffers in it. So that is tap water has buffers in it, right? And the buffers are going to try to bring the pH back up to 7.0 because that's what's healthy for us to drink. And anyway, so what happens if you flush your cocoa with tap water without pHing it, just right out of the hose, is you're going to have all those buffers now inside the cocoa. So now you have to do a flush to get that out, which is pretty easy. So once you have flushed all the crap out with the hose water, then you want to take about 5 gallons of water that you've pre-made and you've pH to 5.5. I know I do 5.8, but in this case you want to go 5.5 for this one thing only. 5.5, even 5.3. You want to go a little acidic on purpose. And let it sit for a day first. So make sure it's actually 5.3. So pH it to 5.3, wait 12 hours, test it again. If it's still 5.3, you're good. If it's gone up, pH it back down again. Do that 2 times. Once that water is buffered, you waited 12 hours, test it again, knocked it back down to 5.3. Waited 12 hours, test it again. Take that, dump it through the cocoa that you had hosed off with hose water. And now all that is going to be nice. You're going to have a nice pH balanced cocoa now. Anyway, so, or if to make it easier, if you don't mind making a big batch of water, just make a big batch of water that's 5.8 and clean your cocoa with that water if you want to. If you feel like you need to clean your cocoa. I use Royal Gold. I never clean it. I don't have to. It's good cocoa. There's no reason to clean it. I also use Coco Tech, comes in bricks. I never clean that cocoa. So when I use Coco Tech and when I use Coco Tech and Royal Gold, all I do, I fill my pot with the cocoa and then I water it one time without anything. I make my normal batch of water that I'm going to use for my seedlings, and I water with that one time only before I put my seedling in there, and that's it. So my PSN name, hold on a second. Let me get this out of the way. So my PSN name is Architectus 777. So that's my PlayStation 4 name, but you're not going to be able to add me. I mean, you can add me that way if you want, that's fine, but that's only going to be for PS4 games. So lately I've only been playing Modern Warfare on PC. So on PC you have to add my Activision name. So log into Modern Warfare, go to hit triangle if you're on PS4 to go to social, and then make sure to choose look up names and type in this exact with the numbers and the pound sign. So capital K, the pound sign plus all these numbers, which is 4583482, like that, and then that will get you to where I can see you. Anyway, so add those two, and then when I can add you back as a friend, and then when I see you online or you see me online, you can just shoot me a message, say, hey, are you playing right now? And usually when we're playing Modern Warfare, we're always welcome to have other people in our party, because it's cooler having people that talk together, that work together as a team, and actually talk and say and like, hey, I just killed a dude over here, or I just got killed over here. I got killed at B site. It's kind of cool to have call outs, so and kind of work together. All right. Anyway, I don't want to keep scrolling back up. So if I missed your question, please ask it again with at signs. So with HPS, or rather with HID lighting, which includes metal halide and HPS, whenever I grew with HPS, I just grew with HPS only. I didn't use the metal halide at all. I just found it kind of a waste of time to switch my bulbs. So I use HPS the whole grow. But if you want to use the metal halide, you only use metal halide during the veg period. So you veg with metal halide and flower with HPS. Although I recommend if you can use both simultaneously for flower, that's excellent, because a little bit of metal halide, like if you use like let's say a 1,000 watt HPS and just add in like a 200 watt metal halide, that little extra blue light really helps during flower. If you're using something like a double-ended Oshio bulb, it has plenty of blue in it already, but standard HPS usually doesn't. You could also just buy like a cheap grow bar for like $40 on eBay that has just all blue lights in it, and put that on the edges of your HPS to add the extra blue during flower. Would I recommend flushing products like FloraClean? I have used FloraClean before. It's an extreme measure. I would only use that if like your plant is really fucked up, like it sounds yours is, and use that to just flush everything out of your cocoa and try to get it back to a pH neutral. And when you flush it with, like I said, like a 5.5, because your pH is high. So you want to flush it with like 5.3, 5.5, and keep doing that until your runoff comes out about the same, and then you hopefully have fixed your cocoa. Adam says, saw a guy on YouTube did a full grow with an 8x8 Rockwell cube with a 4x4 Rockwell cube on top. Just wonder what your thoughts are. Yeah, you can do that. You can also just do Rockwell crouton cubes. They look like little sugar cubes. You buy a big bag of Rockwell and you just put all that inside of a pot and just grow in that. It works great. I've done pure Rockwell grows. They're awesome. Rockwell and cocoa are very similar to how they grow. I use the exact same techniques when I grow with either one. But yeah, you can do that too. You can another thing you can do is you can buy the slabs. So they have like these Rockwell slabs. They're like I think 2 inches high to 4 inches high, and they're like about 6 inches this way, and then they're however long you want to get them. So I think typically the slabs you buy are like, I think it's 6 by 2 high by 6 long by like 4 wide, something like that. So you buy these slabs, and then you start your plant in like a 2 by 2 or 4 by 4. Then you can just set that right on top of it. And make sure to keep the plastic around it so the roots continue to grow down. Put that on top of the 8 by 8 block. Keep the plastic on it once again, and then put the 8 by 8 block on top of like a slab that's now it has to be an 8 inch slab, I guess. So that's like, I don't know, 6 by 8 or whatever, a slab 8 by, I don't know, 12, whatever it is, 2 inches by 8 by 12. It's like a big rectangle piece. And you set that on top of there. That way, if the roots grow down past the 8 by 8 block, they'll go into the slab underneath that and they'll grow out horizontally. So you can do that. It's fine. Use the same growing method. Just make sure you have a way for all that to run off. It needs to be on top of like a crate or something that will allow good drainage.
See if I get something different besides coco firm. It's for some reason just giving me the same
Yeah,
thing.
by the way, she's playing live right now in the background. So if you guys want to give her any shout outs, just go ahead and I'll tell her. If you want to be like, good job, or right on, Sam, you kicked some ass, I'll say it out loud so she knows you guys are saying stuff. I don't know. It depends. Nita, I'm not sure if that's how that's said. So in a 4 by 4, I recommend 9 plants max in 3 gallon pots, 2 to 3 gallon pots. And it's pretty easy to get good yields out of that. So if you use 3 gallon pots and do 9 plants and train them to be like together with tomato cages, or tie them so they don't get too wide, and only top them. If you're doing photoperiods, top them 2 times to have exactly 8 tops. That's a really easy way to get good yields out of a 4 by 4. All right, again, if I missed your questions, please ask it again with the @ sign, so I know you're asking me a question. Three at symbols. All right, so just waiting for some questions to come in. I'm gonna check out her gameplay for a second. I'm actually surprised how I managed to get this. I'm recording her gameplay with my webcam. It's a pretty good webcam, but I got the settings just right. It looks pretty damn good. Like, it's pretty close to the real colors and everything. I turned down gamma and stuff like that. I'm actually surprised at how good it looks. Like, even when she transitions from dark to light, the camera actually picks it up like almost instantly. Like, here right now she's in dark. Oh, I was gonna wait till she came back up. Oh, here she's kind of in a darker area, and then when she runs over here and comes out to the light, see that the transitions, like, it doesn't go like boom like that. It's like instant. Really good, actually. I'm kind of impressed. I'm surprised the webcam actually records the screen that well. Anyway, well, the reason why I wouldn't want to use 5 gallon pots if I wanted 9 plants is because they're bigger. The 3 gallon pots are thinner, so it makes it easier to fit them in there. Yeah, she's really good at this game. Honestly, she's probably one of the best female players. Period. I haven't seen another female player that's as good as her at Modern Warfare yet. There probably is somebody, but so far she's the best female I've seen. It's not like I go looking for gamers on Twitch or something, but She's really good at this game. I'm not as good as she is. On some things, I do better than she does, but overall, she definitely. Like, I do better on search and destroy sometimes, but overall, she is usually does better than me.
One's on top of the cafe, and one's on the stairs.
Right now, Rex, we still have the Blue Dream, the photoperiod going, so it's just been sitting there this whole time. It's super old. It's probably root bound because it's in the same 5 gallon pot, so it's probably totally root bound now. I'm not even sure if it's worth transplanting it because it probably won't. It'll probably take too long. If it's not too root bound and you transplant it, the roots will grow and take over the new pot. But if it's too root bound when you transplant, it would just take way too long. It would just take too long to start growing again. So I might just keep it in the same size and just go ahead and flower it and see what happens. It'd be kind of interesting to see what size it can get in such a small pot. Yeah, Black Ops 4 is cool. We played that before we got this one. We played the shit out of that game actually. My favorite mode was Final Stand, but they only bring it back every now and again. That pisses me off. Why do they do that? Why do they introduce a really cool game mode and then take it away? And then they cycle it every now and again for a week. They'll bring back Final Stand for like a week, then they'll take it away again. Like let us decide what game modes we want to play when we want to play them. Like World War II. Infected is on there. It's still on there right now. People still fucking play it. So I just that's so irritating. I don't know why they do that. Final Stand is my favorite mode on Black Ops 4, and I don't know why they take it away. It's stupid. Just leave it there. Make a fucking tab that says, what do they call it again when it's like those modes or like game like play modes or whatever. Just make a tab for that like play modes whatever they call it, and we can just go click on it. And if no one is playing, then no one's playing. Who gives a shit? If no one's filling up the lobbies, who cares? Let us decide if we'll fill the lobbies up. I don't know. It's stupid. So irritating. But anyway, once I started playing Modern Warfare, I stopped playing Black Ops 4 because Modern Warfare is so good. Some of the maps aren't as good. My favorite is Hackney Yard is my favorite map. That map is amazing. I love it for everything. Search and destroy. I love it for every game mode. But the guns, I don't know, something about it. Something about the controls, the guns. It just feels so good. Like it's so good. I understand that people have issues with the matchmaking system, whatever. I'm not too worried about it. I don't mind being challenged with players that are tryhards. It's fine. I don't mind getting my butt kicked, by good players. It's fine. Some people don't like that. They get pissed off because they can't get a lobby. Like I've noticed it's mostly really good players that complain about matchmaking because they don't want to play as people as good as them. They want to play people that are not good. I don't know why that is. Why do you want to play a game against people that aren't that good? Just play against bots then. Make a private game, put mixed bots in it, and play that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm on a rant, but it's just I don't get it. The only complaint I can understand that I agree with is sometimes the teams are very unbalanced. Like I watch Marksman. He's a search and destroy player. Almost every time it puts him against a good team where and all his teammates suck. So all his teammates are shit, and the team he's playing against are all good, almost all good players, like 4 good players. So it's basically him against 4 good players, and that's not fair. And that happens almost all the time to him. So they need to balance teams out like that more. I understand he's such a good player that is kind of balanced. Like that's what it takes to beat him is a bunch of good players, but that shouldn't be how it is. Anyway, sorry, back to growing questions. How many autoflowers can you grow in a 2 by 4 by 8 grow tent? Depends on the autoflowers, what strains you're growing, how good you are at growing, what pots they're going to be growing in, what style you're going to be growing as. There's too many factors to answer that question. But if you follow my system and you grow in, let's say, 3 gallon pots, I imagine the 2 by 4 by 8 tent is it's 8 feet tall and it's 2 by 4 feet wide. I would probably just do 2 plants. That's what I would personally do, 2 plants, because I can easily fill that up with 2 plants. But if you're not as good of a grower, maybe start out with 4 plants, and then if you run out of room, just pull the weakest plant out of the grow. So it's better to start with more plants because you can always take plants out, right? So I understand the seeds are kind of expensive, so if that's an issue, then you might not be able to do that. But the worst case scenario, you have to pull a plant out to make sure they all have enough room. And believe me, pulling a plant out, yeah, $12 seed, you're going to more than make up for that with a good grow. Don't worry about it. If you fill up your grow area, you've made enough product to waste that $12 seed. I have used wicking techniques, and they're okay. I don't I don't really like using it for marijuana though. It works fine for outdoor gardening like tomatoes and stuff though. Have 1,000. Oh, you know what? No one's reminding me. I forgot to set my bot up to remind me to drink water.
On the bridge.
Adam says he has 1,000 watt double-ended HPS. Um, it might, Adam. 1,000 watt can produce out a lot of heat. If you're in a closed system, yeah, it'll be too much heat. You'll have to either use an AC or you'll have to move air. But if you're moving air and the air is cool, it should be pretty easy to regulate the temperature. Just adjust your fan that regulates the air, that moves air. Your inline fan, just adjust the speed on that, and you'll be able to adjust the temperatures pretty easily. And that's actually a good idea. Like, so in the colder seasons, grow with HPS, and in the hot seasons, grow with LED. If you don't want to use a space heater for whatever reason. But yeah, for me, Modern Warfare is the best Call of Duty game ever made, period. I have never enjoyed a game more than this game. In fact, I kind of want to get off the stream and play because that's how good the game is. Like, just watching her play, I'm like, oh, I want to be playing this game. It's so good. I put so many hours in this game, it's insane. I have never put this many hours in any game ever, period. Like, in all my life. I've been gaming since Atari when I was a kid. And that's all there was is Atari and arcade games. There was nothing else. And I used to play the shit out of Pitfall, for example, hours and hours and hours every day. Pac-Man, Asteroids. I used to play the shit out of Asteroids. Anyway, I've never put as many hours into a game as I have Modern Warfare, and it's only been out a few months, so it's crazy. Yeah, they rotate Infected in Battlefield 4. What's cool though, Infected in Modern Warfare is not rotated. It's permanent right now. It's been permanent. You just go to your quick playlist and then choose Infected, and bam, you can play. You can just play Infected only all day long if you wanted to. Oh, and what they did, they recently balanced Infected in Modern Warfare. I thought this was a good way to balance it. I haven't actually tried it yet, but in theory it sounds good. I need to try it and see how it works. So what they did, according to the notes, is if you have 9 or more players that are infected, if you use your tactical stick to spawn, then you won't spawn with a throwing knife. So basically, if you use your tactical insertion to spawn right next to somebody to kill them, everyone spawns in one and they just keep running and trying to kill that person, you'll only have your regular knife. You won't have a throwing knife. You'll have to actually run and stab them. That's cool. That it needs to be that way. That's how it is in World War II. In fact, in World War II, you have to actually run and stab them. You can't throw a knife at them. You can still throw knives if you don't use your tactical insert. But that means you might have to run from across the map, right? So I think that makes it more fair. So I'm gonna try that today. Actually, matter of fact, once I stop streaming, I'm gonna go and try that and see how that is. All right, okay, yeah, cool, yeah, definitely. I'm mostly a casual gamer, so I don't take games all that seriously. But when I play, I naturally play to win. I don't play to lose or something. I'm not like, let's lose on purpose. But at the same time, I like to have fun. So if I want to play with the Odin, I play with the Odin. If I want to play with a gun I'm not so good at, like a sniper, I play with the sniper. If that means my kill death ratio is shit, I don't care. I just want to have fun, you know. But what I do is like, if I'm playing with my sniper and I'm not very good with it, and I'm not doing very good at all, then I'll play like the first half of the match with just the sniper, and then I'll switch my class to something I'm good at, so that my kill death ratio isn't so bad. So just keep that in mind. We're not like she pretty much just plays with the same gun every time. So I think that's why her kill death ratio is so consistent. Whereas me, I like to goof off a little bit, but yeah. As long as you're not like those kind of people that get all mad when your team isn't try hard all the time. Because I don't always try hard. Sometimes I just play around. Well, let me take that back. I always try to win, but I try with whatever guns I feel I want to have fun with, if that makes sense. So, like I said, if I'm not very good with the AK-47, which I'm not, I'll still use it regardless, just because I want to use it. Any pointers to maximize yield in a first run living soil, no till 65-gallon fabric pot in a 4x4 tent? That's a huge pot. Holy cow, that's huge. I have a 50-gallon pot and it's huge. Like, I haven't even used it yet. It's so big. That's going to hold so much cocoa. Definitely with a pot that big, add perlite for sure. Add like 30% perlite. So that's pointer number one. With a pot that big, add 30% perlite. You'll save you money and it'll make it easier to drain. Other than that, just I mean, you're just going to use natural organic gardening tips, make sure you have enough mycorrhizae in there. Make sure you really give them enough sugar. So just in case, feed them some sugar like every 3 to 4 days or so. It doesn't take much, like a teaspoon. Just put a teaspoon, whatever you're watering with, just put like a little teaspoon of sugar in there, like every 3 to 4 days. Or if you're not, obviously, wait, no, if you're organic, you're not gonna water every day anyways, unless it actually is a big enough plant that it's drinking that much water. So every other watering, just water with a little bit of sugar. All right, Rex, have a good one. All right, cool. So I think I have caught up on all the questions. It's always like that. It's always like for the first hour or so, in this case, like the first hour and a half, it's just like pure madness. There's so many questions. I'm just trying to catch up the whole time. I'm just trying to make sure I answer everyone's questions. If you've stuck around and I've missed your question, now's a good time to get it answered. Just type in 3 @ if you will, and then your question. Yeah, one thing cool about my feeding chart is I explain the logic behind it on how to build your own feeding chart with whatever nutrients you want. So you're not stuck with just using the nutrients that I've already built charts for. You can build your own chart really easily with just taking that knowledge I have on that page, and you can apply that to any nutrient you want and make your own feeding chart. I haven't really noticed other people do that, so I think that's pretty cool. Usually it's just like, here's the feeding chart for this thing. know why, just do this. And this I like explaining why I do things. I think that's important. Don't just teach them where the water is, but teach them don't just teach them where to fish at, but teach them how to fish. Whatever. Yeah, cool, Adam. Thanks. Adam says thanks, babe,
Yeah.
for all we do.
Thank you.
Because she's mainly the grower now because of my health. So I'm the brains behind the operation. She's the physical labor. She has to do all the hard stuff. I don't know. Some would say thinking is hard. So I don't know. What is hard work exactly? Some people would say the programmer isn't doing hard work. Yeah, well, try programming for a week and tell me it's not hard work. It's mentally hard work. It's just as draining though. Like you physically feel drained. You program for 8 hours a day. You physically feel drained. You're burnt out. Nice. Yeah, down to earth has a lot of good stuff. I like their what I used it last grow. It's their down to earth organic. It's basically their multi-purpose feeding, but it also has the added bacteria and mycorrhizae into it. It's like BioLive or something like that. I can't remember what they call it, but that stuff's really good actually. I love that stuff. I use that for pretty much all my outdoor gardening, for all my tomatoes and everything. It works really good. That pretty much has everything you need in it. Let me look it up real quick. I can't remember what it's called. Down to earth. Maybe it's BioThrive. No, it is BioLive. Yeah, down to earth BioLive. It's a 542. And then to add my extra stuff, I add lagmanite to it. So during flower, I add Dr. Earth's lagbanite. So I basically use BioLive, which is a 542. I always use CalMag, so period. Like I put that in my water. So I add CalMag to my water when I water every time, even when I do organic. And then feed with the BioLive. And then what else do I feed with? The lagmanite to add the extra potassium later on, like during flower. I usually add a little bit of lagmanite period just cause I think it's a little too low. And then I'll add even more of that during flower. But yeah, that's a good. Just those two together are really good system actually. You don't really need much else. And then I use something else too for that has a high PNK for a PK booster for powdered. I can't remember what it is right now. I have it in one of my videos, but I'd have to go and look it up again. Where's my thing? There we go. Getting back to the chat here. Sorry about that. Cool, cool. All right, cool. So I just wanted to give everyone a fair chance to ask their last questions, just in case someone had been here and didn't get their question asked. All right, cool. So if that's it, if there's no more questions, then we'll go ahead and call it good. I'll post my name one more time, my Activision name that you can add on Modern Warfare. So if you want to add me on Modern Warfare and play some games with us, some Modern Warfare with us specifically, that's it right there. Got to add that name exactly like that with the number and the pound sign. Hey, thanks Rick for stopping by. I appreciate it. And then if you want to just add me on PS4, by the way, my PS4 handle is this. If you ever want to just play, like we've been playing Borderlands 3 as well, so going through the campaign together. When adding nutrients to my plant's water, the water I start with reads 200 ppm. If I want to add nutrients at 500 ppm, would I keep adding till I got reading of 700 ppm? No. Well, not no. You want to if you're honestly if your water is 200 ppm, I would probably either buy an RO filter. You can buy them for pretty cheap now. They have these RO filters that you literally it's just one thing. Well, actually, it's three things, but it's all contained together. And you can hook up to your hose outside. So you literally just hook your hose up to it. It's a high flow RO system, so it works a lot faster than like a sink water one would. It's still kind of slow. It's still going to take a few hours to fill up. 5 gallons I think takes about an hour or so, something like that. I can't remember now. Maybe less than that actually. It might only be like 30 minutes, 20 minutes. I used to fill up like a 30-gallon thing, and I would just leave it out there for a few hours, let it fill it up. Anyway, that's the way to go if you can filter it. Is filter it that way. Yeah, but why would rainwater be 200 ppm? That must be evaporating some bad water. I can't imagine why rainwater would be 200 ppm. That's weird. Like that has to have like something that can evaporate in it. That's strange. Are you sure your ppm meter is reading correctly? Oh, and what could actually, wait a minute, what could actually add that into it is how you're collecting the rainwater. So whatever the rainwater is running on top of, it could be picking up a bunch of stuff that's making the ppms go up. So if it's running on top of a roof or through stuff, whatever that is it's running on, it sounds like it's picking up stuff and that's making the ppms go up. How are you collecting it from your roof? Or are you collecting it like what's the material that it's collecting? How is the rainwater being collected? Okay, yeah. So it might be that if it's on the roof, it could be that the roof whatever your roof material is made out of, that's adding stuff to the water. It shouldn't be a big deal though. I'm trying to think what roof material is made out of and what possibly could be added to it that would change the ppm. Um, I don't know, I have to look that up. That's interesting. I wonder what it's adding to it. But it shouldn't be adding anything that's really too bad, right? So I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, I guess I would just try to bump if you're trying to add 300 ppm and you're at 200. Yeah, just go ahead and obviously go to 500. But if you're trying to add 500 ppm, like you want to, let's say you want to water your plants with 500 ppm, then yeah, obviously measure it to 700. It shouldn't be a big deal because whatever the roof is adding to the rainwater shouldn't really mess with much. So yeah, that's what I would do if it was me and I had to use that water. That's what I would do. I would ignore the 200 and minus it out from whatever I add to it. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, cool. I can't believe there's actually still 33 people in here. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm not on Discord now. I downloaded it for a while and tried some chat out. It was okay, but I prefer Paltalk. So I haven't really been using Paltalk that much lately, but it's a free program. You can download it to your phone, your tablets. You can download it to your laptop. I use the laptop version or your computer, whatever. And if you ever want to just go in there, I'm under the same name, so Karmic Overflow is my name there. That's my name on Paltalk. And I debate religion and stuff. I've been doing that for years. Like I've been debating religion since I was 18 years old. I started debating it before they even had voice chat programs. I first started debating it back when matter of fact, I started debating when you had to. Do you remember the chat programs? I don't know how old you are, but so before we had regular chat, we had these chat programs where you would text something and then hit enter, but in order to see responses, you had to hit this refresh button. So you had to keep hitting refresh button to see who had responded. So I've been debating since those days when chat was like that. You had to literally hit a refresh button just to see who's saying what. And then we finally got real-time chat, which was awesome. And so yeah, I think I first My first real-time chat program was AOL actually, back in the day when AOL was a thing. And then yeah, anyway, so I went from there, and then eventually Yahoo Chat came out, and that was like I think Yahoo Chat was my first voice chat debating stuff. So I've been debating ever since voice chat ever since then. But and then I found Pal Talk and it's better. So, but in Pal Talk, if you go to religion and then go to Christianity, I'm in a room called I actually admin there as well. What's the room called again? They just the other debate room I think it's called now. They changed the name again. I think it's called the other debate room. Dang it, let me type. I think that's the name of it. It's really not about Christianity. It's mostly atheist, honestly. We just debate religion in general. Sometimes it's Christianity. Sometimes we just talk philosophy. Sometimes we debate science. Sometimes we debate with Muslims. That's been happening more lately, actually, debating Muslims. But yeah, so it's fun. If you like that kind of thing, you like to debate philosophical religion or science, then that's what we do there.
He's in the restaurant, second floor.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when the internet first came out, it's kind of crazy. I was just thinking about it, right? I was just downloading this game onto my PC. So Modern Warfare on the PC. I started out with it on PS4. I played it all the way until level 155 twice on the PS4, and then I was like, you know what? I want to try it on the PC. I haven't played PC in so long. I've never really been a PC gamer, so I've only played a few games on the PC. Fear was one of them back in the day when that came out. Some desert game, desert something attack is a first person shooter. I can't remember what it's called. Desert Storm or some shit like that. Then I think I played some Unreal, and that was about it. So I haven't done much gaming on the PC, and I haven't gamed on the PC for many years, like 15 years. So I feel so out of touch with the mouse and keyboard, but I've been slowly getting used to it. Anyway, so I downloaded it on the PC. It's 165 gigabytes. That's how big this game is. So to download this game on your PC, it's 165 gigabytes. And I downloaded it in like I think 30 minutes. I think that's all it took was like 30 minutes to download 165 gigabytes. I remember thinking, oh my god, like I remember waiting days just to download a gigabyte movie back in the day. Like back in the day on BitTorrent, just to download one movie file that was a gigabyte would take me a couple days just to get that one movie. And now our internet speeds are so fast, I can download 165. That's 165 movies in like 30 minutes. That's pretty crazy. Hey, what's up, Cracklin? I don't know. I've never been scared by scary movies and scary stuff ever. Like they just don't scare me. I've always liked horror. Like I like watching it, but I never feel scared watching it. It never scares me, but I like it. It's cool stuff. Like I've been watching horror since I was 4 years old, and I thought it was cool. Like I'm like, oh, demons, monsters, vampires, werewolves. Like I thought those were cool. They weren't what I would call scary. I'm like, hell yeah, let's watch some fucking demons ripping heads off. That's awesome. I don't know. It's never scared me. So
Awesome.
the shit that scared me when I was a kid was real life shit, like watching a hospital documentary about AIDS. That scared the shit out of me because I'm like, oh my god, I have AIDS. Because I used to have hypochondria when I was a kid. I overcame it, but I used to have it really bad, and I couldn't watch that kind of shit. I couldn't watch anything about real life disease and stuff. It freaked me out. That was like a horror movie to me. But actual horror was nothing. I can watch that all day. But Fear was an awesome game. I actually recently just played Fear again. I haven't played Fear in like 15 years. I played it when it came out, and when it first came out, I bought a computer just to play that game. I haven't played that game since then, and I just finished it like a week ago. So it still holds up. It's still a great game. Like I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow, this game actually still looks pretty good. The AI in that game is still some of the best AI. Period. Like there are games now that don't compete with Fear's AI. I don't know what they did. The way they designed the AI though is really it feels really intelligent. Kind of crazy that a 15-year-old game is better than most games today. Well, Dan, it depends. Tap water, 200 ppm should be okay for tap water, but honestly, if it's tap water, there's no reason why not to run a filter. Just run it through a filter. Unless you can't, unless for whatever reason you can't afford it. But an RO filter now is like $100. It's worth it, man. It's so worth it. Even if you can't do that, even just run it through any filter. Run it through a carbon filter. It should knock down the ppms to like 100. An RO filter will knock it down to almost zero. I think a good carbon filter should at least knock it down to like 100 though. But I recommend doing that. Get a high flow carbon filter. You can get one for like $30. You know. But if you can't do that, then just cancel out the 200 and add whatever you normally add to it. So I only water with like, what's the highest? I have to convert this. I think in EC now. So I have to convert EC for you real quick. Hold on. The most we go is 1.2 EC. So 1.2 times 500 gives you ppm. So the most I ever water with the nutrients I use is 600 ppm. That's as high as I ever go. That's actual ppm because my water is like zero. So if my water was 200, I would be watering with 800 ppm, right? So I would just cancel out the 200 and I would still add 600 to that. But that's the most I ever water with. That's like rigorous. That's rigorous nutrient toward the end of the life of flower. Typically, I only go to 1.0, which is 500 ppm. So typically, that's as most as I go with. Yeah, homemade grow lights are fine so long as you use good parts. And you use a good technology, you want to use a proven technology. This includes the type of lenses that are being used. I recommend a double lens technology. Unless you're using something like cob, then you want to use a good dome, an inlet dome like this. Not a dome, a bowl. You want to use a good bowl reflector that the cob fits inside of. And then you want to use a really good 120-degree lens on top of that. If you're using SMDs, you definitely want to buy a decent brand of SMDs like Samsung is one that's more affordable. That's good quality. And then, or even Osram. I use Osram for example. And then use a good lens on top of that. A good 90 to 100-degree lens on top of that. How long does it take to germinate weed seeds? Usually it depends. If you use my method, in 3 days you'll have a taproot. So if you don't know my method, just go to perfectsunled.com and then go to my free grow course and watch the one about how to germinate seeds. It's a short video. Or you just get my grow book for like $7 on Amazon, Grow Pot Cheaply. It's also linked to on my website. And yeah, if you follow my method, you should get, within 3 days, 3 to 4 days, you'll have a nice taproot. All right, Crackling, have a good night. I remember you talking about your struggle with anxiety. I don't typically suffer from anxiety, but man, smoked several times again this weekend with no issues, but every time it happens, I swear I'm gonna quit, but change my mind. Yeah, that's how it was for me for a long time. Where sorry, I was reading the other text chat. Um, it was like that with me all the time. Whenever I'd smoke, I would just get horrible, horrible anxiety, horrible feeling. Like I would turn pale and feel like I was constantly passing out. It was horrible. I hated it. It's not the same as anxiety kind of. It kind of would trigger anxiety, but it's not like what I go through every day. But anyway, so I remember like every time I smoked and that would happen, I'm like, okay, this is the last time I'm going to smoke. I swear, I'm never smoking again. Then I would smoke again anyways. It actually took me several years to finally quit smoking. To finally go, okay, I get it, man. I can't smoke. Whatever. I'll fucking stop, I guess. I didn't want to stop, but I finally ended up doing it because I just got sick of the bad experiences. It got to the point where every time I smoked was a bad experience. I'm just like, okay, this is no fun anymore. I mean, for the first hour and a half, it was horrible, and then after that, I would feel good. I'd be like, oh, cool, I'm still high. This feels good. But what my wife does, and this has helped her tremendously, so you might want to try this, is buy a good CBD strain, something like Heroquin or Tsunami, something that is almost no THC and has high THC in it, or high CBDs in it, sorry, and like zero THC just about, and smoke some of that first, and then smoke a little bit of regular weed, or or just buy a good half and half weed, something that's like 6.6, so it has like 6% CBD and 6% THC. So it's a good. You can find these almost anywhere now. They're really popular. These half and half strains, and just smoke a little bit of that. And the natural balance of THC and CBD in that strain should counteract the paranoid type of anxiety it gives you, because THC is known for giving that kind of paranoid anxiety feeling, and the CBD is supposed to balance that out. That's why it's in the plant in the first place. It naturally balances out the bad anxiety caused by THC. So yeah, just try a good half and half. Or yeah, you can just buy some CBD oil and smoke some of that, and then smoke weed. Make sure to smoke the CBD first, though. Give it a chance to kick in, and then smoke the THC, and you should be fine. Whenever she does that, she's fine. If she doesn't do that and she smokes too much weed, she'll have a freak out. Oh, another thing I just thought of is, so marijuana naturally lowers your blood sugar, and it can do it very quickly. That's why you get the munchies. That's actually what physically causes the munchies, is it causes a drastic drop in your sugar level, which makes you really hungry. Another thing a drastic drop in sugar level can do, though, is make you feel fainty, like you're dizzy and fainty. Fainty in a bad way, though, like I'm dying fainty, which can cause anxiety. Or it can also make you feel anxious. So another thing you might want to do is, if the CBD doesn't completely help it, if you do the CBD THC together and that doesn't completely eliminate the problem, try before eating or before smoking, try eating something with a little bit of sugar in it. Eat like a fruit or something, like a half an orange or apple or some grapes, or something with carbohydrates in it that breaks down quickly, like, I don't know, just whatever, some snack you have lying around, some toast, whatever. Just eat a little something before smoking. Yeah, that sucks, man. Yeah, so try those things, Renz, and tell me how that works out for you. I would start with the CBD first, though. Well, it's a pretty common thing, Tracy. The kind of like anxiety that can be caused from THC. Like I said, and usually it's only from strains that have very little CBD. Most strains have a decent amount of CBD in them, but some strains have very little CBD, and those strains can give these people really, really bad anxiety. But yeah, if you just find a good balance, like just like I said, find a good balance CBD THC strain. Also, the THC in those strains are naturally lower too, so they're not going to get you as high. And getting overly high can cause anxiety just in general. Some people's some people's brains, like mine, don't like the drastic change in consciousness that can happen from THC. So like a really potent strain, even if you smoke CBD, might still make you freak out because it's making your brain feel something that you don't like. You might not be aware of it, consciously aware of it, but subconsciously you don't like how mind altering that weed is, and that can cause anxiety. Anxiety is mostly a subconscious thing, things that you're not consciously aware of. I don't think weed's bad for you. I mean, it might be bad for some people. Like, I don't recommend that schizophrenics smoke weed, for example. I don't think any psychologist would recommend that a schizophrenic smoke weed, because weed is a it does, even though it's not like a hallucinogenic like acid or something, it's still in that same line of drugs. It's a psychoactive drug, and it can actually, marijuana can actually, in not inhibit, prohibit, no, not prohibit, inhibit mean prohibit and inhibit mean the same thing. What's the one where it makes it happen? Anyway, whatever that word is, it can actually stimulate the effects of schizophrenia. So if somebody has schizophrenia and they don't really have any symptoms of it yet, like they haven't hallucinated or anything like that, smoking marijuana can actually trigger their schizophrenia that's already there. And if they're taking medicine and stuff to not have episodes, the weed can make having episodes more likely, or make them worse. It can send them into a worse schizophrenic episode than if they didn't smoke weed. So, yeah, for people that already have psychological issues, mental problems, should not smoke weed. But if you're a normal, healthy minded individual that doesn't suffer things like anxiety and stuff, yeah, I don't think weed is unhealthy. I don't think it will do anything to you. I think weed's awesome, actually. It helps so much other stuff. Another thing is, like I said, CBDs, like CBD strains without any THC, won't have that psychoactive effect. You won't feel anything. You might feel a little bit relaxed. And CBDs, just in themselves, can actually help a lot of different things. So, matter of fact, my mom's boyfriend, they're not married. It's kind of funny. She's like 60 now. It's kind of weird just saying that. My mom's like old, so it's weird to talk about her boyfriend, but her boyfriend has anxiety and he smokes the CBD. Oh, no, he doesn't smoke the CBD oil. Sorry. He does CBD tinctures. He says smoking doesn't help him. But the THC tincture, not THC, sorry, the CBD tinctures actually help his anxiety, I guess. I don't know about cancers. I haven't seen any research to suggest that marijuana actually really helps cancer. Yeah, Lars, everyone's different, Everyone's chemistry is different. What causes their anxiety is different. Everyone's anxiety is different because everyone's brain's different. Anxiety, like I said, is a very subconscious thing linked to how your brain works, how you consciously think of things and unconsciously think of things. So what might cause one person anxiety will not cause another person anxiety. For example, I get anxiety waiting in line. If I have to wait in line at like a grocery store, I get anxiety. I can't wait in line, period. I just won't do it. So for me, for whatever reason, waiting in line triggers my anxiety. For you, that might not trigger your anxiety. You can probably wait in line all day and be fine. Everyone's different. And for some people, weed can trigger their anxiety. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I really do hope that marijuana leads to some sort of, if not cure for cancer, at least something that slows cancer down so that it helps whatever cure you are using work easier, you know, like use marijuana along with some other method to cure cancer or something. I prefer growing indoors personally. Outdoors just has so many uncontrollable factors, but outdoor weed is still fun. I don't do it anymore because I don't live in a place that makes it that easy anymore. Like it's legal, I can do it, but I have to. So I have gardeners that come out and they do my yard and everything, right? So gardeners come out, they mow my lawn, they do all my bushes. And so if I grew outdoors, I'd have to like worried about my gardeners stealing my weed, or worried about my gardeners telling somebody else I grow weed and they're gonna come and try to steal it. So now I have to like it just makes life more anxiety, I guess, because now you're anxious about someone trying to come steal your weed, and now you have to like be on the guard. And if your dogs start barking, to turn on the lights and run out there with your gun, and get the fuck off my property, I'll shoot you. Then it can cause drama that I don't want to deal with. And it's not necessary because I can grow enough indoors anyway. I suppose if I grew outdoors though, what I would do is I would buy like a really good greenhouse with a lock on it and everything. So a greenhouse that's harder to break into because it doesn't use glass. It uses like really strong plexiglass that's hard to break. But I don't know. It just seems like an unnecessary thing to do. Yeah, true. Cannabis is like a weed, like that it grows so fast. Oh yeah, there's no doubt modern medicine doesn't understand brain. Like they don't even understand just the basic makeup of the brain, let alone consciousness. Consciousness is a huge mystery. No one knows what consciousness is and why it works. Why it even exists actually. According to physics, consciousness shouldn't even exist because according to physics, at least the physics that we have right now, the physics that works and has predictable outcomes and can predict things and make things like computers, quantum mechanics that is. According to physics, time is not something that exists the way we experience it. We think of time as, hey, I have a past, I'm experiencing the present, and I can think about the future. According to physics, time doesn't work that way. The past and the future are existing all the time. So there's no such thing as the past and the future in physics. It's just there. So something that we from our point of view we would say this event is in the past and this event is in the future. According to physics, those events are happening right now. They're just both existing. They both are happening, which is strange to think about because it actually doesn't allow for consciousness. Hopefully that makes sense. Something to look into. It's really interesting stuff. The way that physics works literally doesn't allow for consciousness. Consciousness should not exist, yet it does. Well, yeah, I used to when I used to do my live shows, I used to end it with a trailer of what is it called, Reefer Madness, because it's so funny to watch. But Reefer Madness is so funny, like, and the thing is that people used to actually teach that about marijuana. They used to think that marijuana was like this really dangerous drug, and it's still listed that way by the FBI. The FBI still has marijuana listed as a dangerous drug, the same way heroin's listed. And the thing is, none of those things for the schedule of drug it is, Marinol is a synthetic THC that's sold by the government, approved by the government. So how on one hand how can they approve Marinol, a synthetic THC, as an actual medical benefit, and on the other hand claim that THC has no medical benefits? It's one or the other. Make up your mind, government. Either it has no medical benefits and it's a Schedule 1 drug, whatever they call it, or it has medical benefits and therefore it can't be, the same as heroin. It's stupid. And that's another contradiction. They say heroin has no medical benefits, but it does. It helps pain. Obviously, it's better to do something like morphine, but it's the same shit. No, weed is not addictive. That's like saying milk is addictive. The definition of addiction, that is, when something is physically addictive, is that if you stop taking whatever is addictive, it needs to have a negative effect on your health. For example, alcohol is addictive. If you try to stop drinking alcohol, you will have physical effects. In fact, it can kill you. My fake grandfather quit. He was an alcoholic. He quit drinking alcohol cold turkey, and he had a stroke because of it. This is why you're supposed to wean yourself off of things that are addictive. Clonopin, any benzo benzodiazepine, is that what it's called? Any benzo is highly addictive, and that's why you have to come off of it slowly. Because if you quit cold turkey, it can kill you. It can actually cause a heart attack. And the symptoms are horrible when you quit Clonopin, by the way. I did that more recently in my life. I was on Clonopin for like 5 years, and then I stopped taking it, and it was one of the most horrible experiences I went through. It was 2 weeks of just horribleness. It was, I hated every minute of it. It sucked. It was very difficult. But weed, I quit weed cold turkey, no side effects. None. Yeah, that's all psychosomatic, Tracy. If you had any sort of physical symptoms from quitting marijuana, it was psychosomatic. In other words, you caused it yourself. And the mind's very powerful. If you become mentally addicted to something, it can cause physical symptoms. Like you can cause yourself physical symptoms. That's been proven. People with hypochondria, for example, can actually cause heart attack symptoms, and they think they're having a heart attack because they have the physical symptoms of it. And that was all caused in their brain. Nothing physical, all in their brain. I know, I used to be a hypochondriac. It's a horrible thing to have to deal with. And we can disagree, but the medical evidence is on my side. It's a fact that marijuana is not physically addictive. There's nothing in it that's physically addictive. Any physical symptoms that you might experience when stopping marijuana is all caused by your own consciousness because you're mentally addicted to it. And I think some people confuse those two things. So anything can be mentally addictive, but mentally addictive is not the same as physically addictive. Like I said, when something's physically addictive, it's medically proven to be so, and we can prove it in a laboratory and go look at these symptoms will happen because this chemical, when it leaves the body quickly, causes these physical symptoms. Marijuana doesn't do that. Nothing about THC or CBD or any other compound inside of marijuana shows any physical relation to addiction. But things can be mentally addictive. You can be mentally addicted to exercise. Actually, that could also be a physical addiction only because it does produce endorphins, which can be addicting because it creates a happy feeling in the brain. Um, but it's not like you're going to have bad effects if you stop working out all of a sudden. You can get mentally addicted to drinking milk, for example. I know I was addicted to drinking milk. I drank milk my whole life, and then one day I decided I wanted to stop drinking milk because I didn't think it was good for you, which I still don't think it's good for you, and I hardly ever drink it. But that was so hard to do. I had such a hard time to stop drinking milk. Like, wow, that was so hard. I would feel physical things if I didn't have milk. I'm like, oh, I need milk, but it was all in my brain. It's all the head. You're mentally addicted to it. You think you need the milk. You think you desire milk, and that mental power can make it feel. It can make you feel physical things. I felt physical withdrawal symptoms from stopping milk, but I know for sure that milk is not physically addictive. Well, it depends. So there are certain things that marijuana helps with. So if, for example, if marijuana gave you an appetite, because it does for a lot of people. For a lot of people, in fact, a lot of people uh, either ingest or smoke marijuana in order to give them an appetite because they don't have one, and they have a hard time eating. So they smoke marijuana to allow them to eat. Now, if they were to suddenly stop smoking marijuana, they would have the physical symptoms of what was already there, right? They would have lack of appetite, and vice versa. If you have the opposite, if marijuana for whatever reason takes away your appetite, then stop. If you stop smoking marijuana, you're naturally going to have an appetite again. So it's going to. That's not going to be because of the marijuana, though. It's going to be because the marijuana was doing something positive for you and you stopped taking it. So now it's no longer doing that positive thing for you. Why does my mouse do this? When my mouse goes to sleep mode, I can't just wake it up by clicking it. Oh, wait, there it goes. Oh, cool. Maybe I have to click it. So I can't just move my mouse around. I have to actually click the button, I guess. And that brings it back. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Yeah, spelling's hard, man. It is, though, seriously. Spelling is difficult. Like, simple words aren't difficult. Everyone should know how to spell, like, the most used words in English alphabet. All it takes is a little bit of education to be able to do that. A good school, and our schools suck now, I think. Well, at least based on how people type on YouTube and stuff, I would say schools suck right now. They're obviously not teaching people how to write anymore. Oh, I didn't know this. I recently learned that schools no longer teach how to write cursive. So if I wrote cursive right now, all the kids around me would think I was writing in some other language. That's funny. So if we want to, if us old schoolers want to write in code so that all the children don't understand what we're writing, we can just write to each other in cursive and they won't be able to read it. That's so funny. Why did they stop teaching cursive? I don't understand that. But anyway, so if someone has a decent school, they should know how to spell most stuff. But there are a lot of words that are just naturally hard to spell, and the reason why is because our language is a bastard language. A lot of our words come from many different languages. Some of them come from French, like beautiful. Some of them come from Greek. Some of them come from Latin. And because these core languages that we derive our words from have different grammar, the way their language works is different grammarly, it makes our words weird. So like beautiful is spelt so strangely because it uses French grammar and French, and it's adopted a lot of its French spelling was carried over. Whereas something like a Latin word seems more common and normal to how Americans think. I didn't mean to say humans. Latin, we seem to think more Latin as far as grammar goes, like how things are spelled. But Greek has a completely different working for how things are spelled, and so you get words that are Greek origin and versus French origin, and it makes it difficult to know how to spell the word. And it leads to weird things like does the word have a UOUS or does the word just have an OUS? They sound the same, and that's why in spelling bees you can ask what's the origin of the word, because even if you don't know how to spell that word, you never heard it before. If you know its origin, you can logically figure out how it should be spelled. Anyway, that's enough nerdy shit. Any ideas how to check on trichomes with a table microscope? Yeah, you can just cut off. So if you have the bud, right, and those little leaves that stick out on the bud like this, the little ones that just poke out, it looks like just a tip of a leaf poking out of the bud. Just cut off one of those, or just a small leaf, a nice sugar leaf. It has to be a really sugary leaf. Just cut off one of those sugar leaves and handle it very carefully with like a tweezers or something, and then put that on your microscope, and you can check out the trichomes that way. It's much easier though to use like a 60x loop or 100x loop though, or you can even like what's the one, like if you have like the ones where you have to kind of put it on, has a little plastic thing around, like a little plastic cup, and it goes over like that. That's good. It's same idea. I just take a piece of the bud off and I do it that way. They also have ones now for like $100. You just plug it into your phone, and you can like put it right to your plant. So you just take it and just put it right on your plant and watch through your phone. Makes it much easier. So that's some ways to do that. Did we land on the moon? I believe we landed on the moon. I know both sides of the argument. I've watched documentaries. Well, I don't know if you want to call them documentaries, but instructional videos, or I guess informational videos on both sides of the argument. So I've watched the ones that claim we did not go to the moon and all their reasonings and their questions of why we think we did not go to the moon. And then I've read the retorts to those questions, why we did go to the moon. And I think the argument that we did go to the moon is stronger than the argument that we did not go to the moon. I'll just give one example. For example, one of the arguments that we did not go to the moon is why is the flag doing this on the moon, right? There's no wind on the moon. If there's no wind on the moon, why is the flag waving on the moon? You can watch the video and you'll see the flag waving. Now, if all you heard was that piece of information, you might be convinced or at least skeptical that we went to the moon, right? It's really easy to make someone skeptical because they lack education. So you go, look at why is the flag waving like it's in the wind? If there's no wind on the moon, obviously that's fake. And everyone goes, oh yeah, totally, man, that does seem fake. And then you hear someone that's educated go, no, the reason why the flag is doing that is because there's very little gravity on the moon. It's on a pole that is very flexible, And so when they put the flag in the ground, the flexibility of the pole kept going for a long time because there's no gravity to slow it down. There's no resistance. So that pole continues to do this for a long time, which makes the flag do this for a long time. It makes the flag look like it's in the wind when it's actually not. And obviously the flag doesn't just fall straight down because, again, lack of gravity. That's why the flag is doing that. And when you hear these kinds of explanations, why the answers to their questions, it's like, oh, that makes sense. See? And you can do that for everything. For every single point they have that we did not go to the moon, you can answer just like I did for that one. And once you hear all those answers, it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. We did go to the moon. Okay, yeah, cool, Rinse. I think for Xbox Live, you'll have to do, you'll have to do the karmic number. Add my Activision name. Yeah, the newest one that really gets me is how many young people, like the Z generation, are falling for this flat Earth theory. It's just ridiculous. I can't believe it. Like it just shows how bad our education system is. The fact that people in 2020 believe we live on a flat Earth is it just shows how bad our education system is. That's all it shows. I don't think it shows that humans are stupid. Quite the contrary. I think humans are highly intelligent. I think even the average person is highly intelligent. And the only reason why they believe we're on a flat Earth is they lack education. That's it. It's just lack of information. If they had all the information, there's no way they would believe that shit. No, Architectus is my PS4 handle. I don't have Xbox, so on Modern Warfare, you're gonna have to add this name as Activision. So when you go to social, hit, I think it's Y on the Xbox. Anyway, whatever button you bring up the social part with to add friends and stuff to go online, then choose Activision, choose Find Friend, and when you choose Find Friend, type this exact name with this number. Everything has to be exactly as I typed it right now with the pound sign and everything. So you're 4583482. I'm a little dyslexic with numbers. Let me see. 4583458342. Okay. There you go. Just type that exact name in, and then that will find me on Modern Warfare, and then you can add me on Modern Warfare. That's true, Lars. They don't. They don't teach critical thinking skills. I think it should be a normal class like math. Have I been busted smoking or growing? No, I have not, because it's legal to grow where I live. I've never grown illegally. I've only grown legally. I have smoking illegally, but I never got caught. So now it's legal to smoke here. So now that I can't smoke anymore, it's legal. But whatever. Well, Baron, I think that that's reading into people, reading stuff into, like, I don't see any evidence that they weren't proud of what they did. I only see evidence they were proud of what they did. Like you might show a few clips of some things, and then you can like look at that one clip isolated and build this weird story that they don't seem proud. But if you just look at everything, I don't see evidence for it that they're not proud. I would ask for evidence that they're not proud. But I think that basic logic thinking, like basic reasoning thinking skills as a class, not like formal logic, not like you don't need to learn that can be for like high school or something as an elective if you want to learn it. So when I say that reasoning skills should be taught like math is taught, like mandatory, just basic reasoning skills, like what non-contradiction is, things like that, and how to think through things so that you don't come to weird conclusions. But you're not like they don't have to teach formal logic. They don't have to teach classical logic. They don't have to teach. Those can all be electives. but the basic ways of how to think and stuff should be taught in school, and it's not. It's really strange. Like math and English are mandatory, but how to think about stuff isn't. I just find that odd. It should be a mandatory class. You should start doing it like as soon as possible. That should be one of the classes that you just have to go to. Or maybe just make it part of math class. So part of math class is how to think. Makes sense with math and analytic thinking. Any psychedelic experiences? Yeah, I've done mushrooms. The psychedelic experiences uh, I had on mushrooms and meditation. I've only done mushrooms twice, and the first time didn't really do anything because I don't think I did enough. The second time, I definitely had a trip, and it was kind of interesting. But the most psychedelic experiences I've had is through meditation. And if you want to learn more about how I meditate, check out the YouTube channel that's been posting for me. That's one of my other YouTube channels. The Nomicism New Reincarnation is one of my other YouTube channels. And I teach how to. Well, I don't really teach how I meditate, but I do have a guided meditation, and you can learn through that guided meditation kind of how I meditate. I need to make more videos though, like just explaining other things I do while meditating. But I've been meditating for 30 years now, so I was never taught how to meditate. I literally just woke up one day and knew how to do it. I don't know how that works. But one day I woke up, I was 10 years old. I just woke up one day. I'm like, wow, I know how to do this thing. I didn't call it meditation because I didn't know that word yet. But I just woke up one day and went, I know how to do this thing and I want to do it. And I did it. And I've been doing it ever since. I later learned what I was doing was called meditation. And I do a deep conscious type of meditation. So I've had some crazy psychedelic experiences. The doctors would call it a psychedelic experience. A hallucination is what they would call it probably. Who is ignoring Tracy? Which one of you guys is ignoring Tracy? Well, it's not though, Ben. I mean, I think it should be. I think thinking should be part of common sense, but it's not. I first tried marijuana when I believe I was 13 or 14. I was in, let me see, my best friend at the time was Jason Zwart. I believe I was in 8th grade. I think I was 14 when I first tried marijuana. And I got super stoned, but I didn't really realize I was stoned. And they messed with me. So my friends got me super stoned, and then they messed with me, and they're like, dude, Neil, check this out. Look at that orange peel. And there was an orange, because we were eating oranges, and there was an orange peel on the ground. Dude, look at that orange peel, man. Just check it out, dude. Look at that orange peel. And so I did. And I stared at it for a long time, I guess. And then they started laughing at me. I'm like, what? What's so funny, man? Like, dude, man, you've been staring at the orange peel for like 5 minutes. I'm like, no way, dude. You're full of shit. I have not been staring at that orange peel for no 5 minutes. But I guess I was. I just didn't realize it because I was so stoned. Now, 41. Hey, don't add years to me. I'm not there yet. I'm 41. Adding a year onto me already. It's not that time. It's not my birthday time. We still got a few more months for my birthday. Yeah, awesome, brother Rick. Thanks for stopping by. You just made some Fem Auto seeds. Do I need to let them sit for a month or can I plant them now? You can plant them right away. Oh, real quickly, I was going to give an example of how common sense doesn't include just how to think. So one of the ways to think is abductive reasoning, and not everyone has that as a common sense. A lot of people, I would say most people, don't use abductive reasoning at all. They just don't. And what abductive reasoning is when you come across some experience or any piece of data or information, and instead of just coming to one conclusion, you think outside the box and go, what are the other possible explanations for what could cause this to happen? You don't just go, you don't just like go, here's the first thing that seems to make sense, therefore that must be what makes sense. You go, oh, wait a minute, what if this? What if that? Is it if this happened, then that can cause that too. So, for example, if you look at something like the double slit experiment, and these big heads in the world look at the double slit experiment and they go, okay, that's interesting. We're getting an infringement with light when there shouldn't be. At least it doesn't seem like there should be. And then when we put a something that can read the light waves, well, obviously interferes, but a detector, then we get a lumping pattern. Why does that happen? And some of the big brains, came up with explanations for what they thought happened. One of them was like, well, it must be that the photon is actually existing in all places simultaneously, and then it's virtually existing in all places simultaneously, and then when it is forced to interact with the detector, then it collapses down into one single photon, and that's why we get a clumping pattern. That was one explanation. That's the Copenhagen interpretation. Another interpretation was the multiverse interpretation. That is, well, it must be that the photon is actually existing in all places simultaneously that it can possibly exist, but each one exists on an individual universe. And when you use a detector, it collapses all those universes into only one possible universe, which is our universe. For us, it collapses everywhere else for everyone else. And that's why we get this clumping pattern. Okay, that's cool and everything, but like, if you use abductive reasoning, you can think of other reasons why it could be that way. Like, those aren't the only two reasons, right? What if, for example, we live in a video game? You have to think outside the box with abductive reasoning. If you live in a video game, that's exactly how video games work. The possibility of where that rendering object would be, that is the photon, would be in all possible places at the same time mathematically. But once it actually renders, that is, once it has to actually interact with something, that is, render something, like the detector is causing the light photon to render something on the detector. Once it renders something, it only renders in one place at one time. That's how video games work. If you look at ray tracing, for example, the photons can be everywhere they possibly can be. There's these virtual photons in a video game, but only when they actually touch something and render it is it actually measurable. Like, that's where it actually is. And so if reality is like a video game, like a world simulation or something, then that result is exactly what we should see in the double slit experiment. That would be abductive reasoning, coming up with another way that something can be. That's a really complicated example, but anyway, most people don't think abductively. If they see an apple fall from a tree, they don't think about why. Most people don't even consider why did it do that. And then if they do consider why they do that, why it does that, they only come up with this one conclusion. That seems to be the only way it can be. But Einstein was able to think abductively, which led him to come up with other ideas. What if, what if Sir Isaac Newton was wrong? What if gravity doesn't work the way he thought it did? What if what if there is no force like that? What if instead space itself is warping, and that's what makes the apple fall? And it takes abductive reasoning to even think on that level, to start thinking outside the box and go, hey, is there another explanation for why this happened? I'll give a really simple explanation. One more really fast, since I'm on a roll here with my rambling. One more example is, let's suppose you're in your house and you hear this crazy ghost sound. It crawls up your wall and it moves across your ceiling to the other side of the house. And you're like, oh my God, what was that? And because you were raised religious, you go, it was a demon or it was a ghost, right? You come to that weird conclusion because that's how you're raised. So you're like, because it sounded like a ghost, right? It had this weird demonic sound, so maybe you think it's a demon. By the way, this is a real life thing that happened to me and my sister. That's what my sister thought. So we both heard this noise and it sounded demonic. It was like, it sounded crazy. Went up the wall, through the ceiling. And she's like, oh my God, it's a demon. She starts praying to God, trying to get rid of the demon, right? I, the more sensible, reasonable person, use abductive reasoning, and I go, wait a minute, is there any other possible explanation other than that was a ghost or a demon? Like, yeah, that's what it sounded like, but is there another explanation? So I start thinking of all the other things maybe it could be. I'm like, maybe it could be weird trapped air and water in my pipes, and that can cause weird sounds through old metal and pipes, and and so I thought the more reasonable thing, and I'm like, yeah, that makes more sense. That's probably what it was. I'm like, look, there's no reason to freak out. I doubt it's demons. I'm pretty sure it's just like different gases or water and stuff in our pipes, and it made this weird sound. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. And that's just another example of using abductive reasoning to try to think for plausible explanations for stuff. And then after you have a plausible explanation, then you want to test that explanation and see if that holds true. Like, let's try to reproduce that sound. And you can reproduce that sound. I've heard it reproduced on videos. Yeah, some of those old pipes and stuff can make some crazy, scary sounds inside of old houses. Yeah, you could do that if you rule out enough. If you rule out enough things it could possibly be, then you're left with the one thing it could possibly be. I don't know if that's so effective if there's so many possibilities, though. If there's a lot of possibilities of what something can be, then, and also another, even if there's only three possibilities, if you can't rule out two possibilities, then that method doesn't work either, right? Well, let's just say let's say we have some problem, and there are five possible things it could be. Like we know for sure these are the only five explanations that could actually be true. But there's no way to eliminate four of those possibilities. It's just you can't. Maybe you can eliminate two of them, right? So using that kind of reasoning, you're able to rule out two of them. You're still left with three possibilities, and that's as far as you can get with that line of thinking, because you just can't rule out the other three. They're equally valid, and now you're left with three possible valid answers with no way to reduce them. So you need some other line of trying to figure out which of those can be true. And I think the best method at that point is just doing test which one works the best, which explanation has the least amount of errors in it. Which explanation works the best, has the best predictions, the best outcomes. And in that case right now, that's quantum mechanics and relativity. Doesn't mean they're right or accurate, that's just the best we have right now. There's a bunch of other possible explanations. String theory is another one, but it just doesn't have the predictable power that the standard model does. So, but that's just a good real life example of that in play. We've tried to rule out as many as we can, but we can't rule them all out. There's so many physics theories right now that you just cannot rule out, and they're equally valid. Well, I guess now they're going to be sending the first females to the moon. That's supposed to happen, I think, by the date is the date 2025, 2024 they set for that. They're going to ship those chicks to the moon because that's so important to do with modern politics. It's super important to send an all-female crew to the moon to prove that females can do stuff as if it's as if they can't or something. I think it's ridiculous. What a waste of money. I have never messed with DMT. I have not. I like the idea of DMT. In fact, what's interesting about so I've read a lot, and I've listened to a lot of like people that tripped on DMT, and just listened to their first person point of view experience that describing what they saw and how they felt and everything. And a lot of those experiences actually sound very similar to my meditative experiences. The things like the places I've went, the things I've seen and experienced through deep mind altering meditation sounds really similar to this DMT stuff. And I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder if DMT is actually opening up something in the person or bypassing something in the brain, allowing their consciousness to experience what I experience when I meditate. If there's some real place that is accounting for their experiences, that it's not just completely hallucinated. That, yeah, sure, it can be hallucinated, but a hallucination doesn't mean that it's not real. I'll give an example of something I personally understand to be true. If a ghost is real, and the ghost is made of a material that the human experience is incapable of seeing, at least the human senses are incapable of seeing it as it is, but that ghost knows how to manipulate your brain to control your hallucination. Stay with me for a second. If that ghost knows how to control your brain to control what you hallucinate, control what you see and what you hear, then the ghost can make you hallucinate an image of itself that it wants you to see and a voice and a sound that it wants you to hear. So on one hand, it's true, yeah, I hallucinated. On the other hand, it's also true that what you hallucinated was actually a real thing. It was controlled by a real entity. So although what you saw and heard wasn't real, what you saw and heard was controlled by a conscious entity that wanted you to see and hear that thing. And what you saw and heard was whatever they wanted you to hear and see. It doesn't mean that's what they look like. It could be what they look like when they were dead. It could be how they perceived themselves when they were dead, etc. And I think that's why ghost experiences are so strange, and why if three people see the same ghost, sometimes those three stories are very different. That is, what the ghost looked like to each person was different. And that's because the ghost can do that. It can physically make you hallucinate different things. It can make person A hallucinate a girl in a dress. It can make person B hallucinate a girl in pants. And make person C hallucinate a girl that's naked, for example. But by the way, that's how I believe ghosts communicate. I believe they communicate through controlling hallucinations. I think that's the only way they can communicate. It's getting way off of marijuana for sure. But whatever, I answered all the marijuana questions, so I guess we can geek out for a little bit. If anyone does have any more marijuana questions, though, and you're in here wondering what the fuck we're talking about, I'm just geeking out a little bit, but you can ask marijuana questions and I'll answer them. Thoughts on dreaming and why we do it? I have a lot of ideas about that. I have a lot of ideas about everything in reality. That's really what my Gnosticism New Reincarnation channel is all about. My other YouTube channel, well, one of my other YouTube channels. If you go to Gnosticism.com, if you're interested in all this kind of stuff, I share a lot of my thoughts and experiences that I've learned through meditation for 30 years, and what actually 31 years now. So 31 years of meditation and different conclusions I've come to and understandings I've realized through that experience. And dreams are one of I think I have a page on dreams about what dreams are and how they work. But in short, I understand that dreams are. I used to do a lot of lucid dreaming on purpose. Like I would give myself lucid dreams. I haven't done it in a while because it's pretty taxing. It takes a lot of effort and it's not easy to do. But I'm going to start doing lucid dreaming again, see if I can come to any new conclusions. But the conclusions I draw about dreams is that dreams, the place, is an actual place that exists, so much as places can exist. I don't think any place actually exists, but that's a whole other topic. But dream world is an actual fabric of consciousness where you actually go. Everyone goes. So there's an actual dream world. We all go there when we dream. But that dream world is co-created by all of our consciousnesses and isolated. There's different parts that are isolated. So where I dream is an isolated part of that world. But if you come into that world, we can actually meet each other in dream world. You can meet real people. Most of the people in dream world are fake, right? Even if you know them in real life, most likely that's a fake person. It's not a real person. So the dream people are like artificial intelligences that occupy this world, and they're not real people. But sometimes you can run into another real person on the dreamscape. And I've done this a couple times where we're both had the exact same dream and we're both in the exact same place in that dream. And when that happens, you're both trying to change the fabric of dream world at the same time. And so the dream, you're fighting for, I guess, dominance over what the dream world should be and what the dream should be, because you're constantly creating the dream world and fashioning the world to be what you want it to be. Whether you're doing that consciously or subconsciously, it's constantly happening. And anyway, so that's a little bit what I think about, understand about dreams. And why we dream is because we would go insane if we did not. Literally, that's all dreams are. Dreams are a way to keep human consciousness sane. Because if you stop dreaming, you will literally lose your mind. And that's actually been proven, as far as things can be proven. They've actually taken people in dream studies, and every time they went into rapid eye movement, they woke them up. In other words, they allowed them to sleep, but they did not allow them to dream. And when these people went a few days without dreaming, they started going crazy, like acting like cuckoo. Even though they were still sleeping. They were still sleeping a good amount of hours, they just weren't dreaming because they weren't allowing them to dream. So yeah, dreams are to keep you sane. I have ideas of why that is too, like why we need to dream to stay sane as a consciousness. Yeah, my well, actually I redact what I was about to say about DMT, but yeah, I know someone that has done the root bark thing. One of the interesting ones is I forget the species of frog, but you just take the species of frog and smash it against some glass, because the DMT actually exists on the slimy part of its skin. And if you just take this frog and just squish it all over glass and let that ooze that you took off the frog's skin, let that dry out on the glass. If you scrape what's on there after it all dries, let it evaporate, and scrape what's left, you have a very potent DMT. It's supposed to be the most potent DMT. I forget the species of frog that is, though. I want to use foiler spray I made myself on my plants and cocoa. Do I have set pH also to 5.5, 6.5? I was wondering. No, you don't have to. In fact, if you're dealing with anything like, let's say, powdery mildew or anything like that, it's actually better to spray your plants with like something like an eight or a 7, or go down even more acidic than that, as long as it doesn't hurt the plant. It can't be too acidic because otherwise it'll hurt the leaves. But yeah, you can actually spray with a higher pH, because a higher pH isn't going to burn the leaves like an 8 or 9, but like milk, for example. But it's going to help protect the leaves from powdery mildew, because mildew has a hard time growing on a higher or lower pH. So that's one way to help prevent powdery mildew, for example. So yeah, it's fine to have the pH fluctuate. You can just leave it at 7, 8, whatever it is with your water, and after you add it, you don't have to pH it at all. The fastest, slowest, best experience autoflower you've grown? I've actually never grown lowrider, but some of the original lowriders are super fast. They can finish in like 60 days. The fastest one I've grown is Gorilla Glue by Fast Buds. The ones I grew, at least the first ones I grew, this last one took forever, but the first ones I grew finished in like 64 days from seed. That was pretty fast. I was like, wow. They were only like two ounces to 2.5 ounces, but it happened so fast that if you grow enough of them, you can still get big yields, and it's really good marijuana. It's a nice strain. So really good quality. It looks really good too, really frosty. The slowest I ever grew was my world record, the 3 pound plant, or 2.9 pound, whatever. The critical by Royal Queen Seeds. That one went 160 days, whatever it was, before I finally had to cut it down, and it still wasn't finished. I had to cut it down because I had to move. The house I was living in got foreclosed on. I was renting it at the time, and the owner got foreclosed on, so I had to move. I had no choice but to cut the plant down. But still, even unfinished, she was 2.9 pounds. One plant in a 7-gallon pot. That's on the YouTube channel. It's really crazy. Have you gone on a ayahuasca treat, Red Rash or Red Dash or Redash? I'm not sure how that's said. Probably Redash. The ayahuasca retreats seem really interesting.
Smash you, bro.
Yeah, I've had what people would classify paranormal experiences. I've had some really weird experiences. And the thing is, I'm always like trying to think of what could it actually be. And it's only when I'm left without any explanation that I'm like, okay, that's weird. Not really sure what that was. Um, I can go into it. I've had some really crazy experiences with Ouija board. I've had well, maybe I'll tell one story of people would call this a ghost story. I'll tell this one story before I get offline here. So I was about 11 years old. I think I was 11. Yeah, about 11 years old. I had moved in with my dad, so my dad and mom were divorced, so I would go back and forth. In summer times, I'd go and live with my dad. So I went and lived with my dad for half the summer, and while living with him, I was in a town called Sassoon. It's Sassoon, California. It's by Fairfield, California. And I met this kid. So I was coming home from school one day, and this kid walks up to me and puts a knife in my face and is like, "Dude, doesn't it look cool?" I never saw this kid in my life, dude, right? And he just like walks up to me and puts a knife in my face, like, "Doesn't this look cool?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, that's super cool." I'm like, whoa, you're kind of weird. But he kept talking to me, and we're walking and stuff, and he seemed like a cool guy. So, we talked all the way home, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to hang out tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, we can do that." And to make a long story short, we hung out for a few days, and then one day we're walking by this old abandoned mansion, a really big mansion, just abandoned, and city has been built around it and everything. And he goes, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool to go inside that thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so. It'd be kind of neat." He's like, "Hey, you should move in there." I'm like, "How can I move? I can't." I'm like, "My dad couldn't afford to move into that place, man." He goes, "No, no, it's super cheap because it's haunted or something." I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever." I'm gonna skip a bunch of stuff, a bunch of weird stuff that happened. I'll just kind of briefly tell you this. In my entire time I hung out with this kid, he never ate or drank anything. Never. For example, when we go to the store, we'd all be hungry and we'd buy some candy bars and stuff and sodas, and I would offer to buy him some. I even, he'd be like, "No, no." I thought maybe he was being modest, so I just bought him and handed it to him. I said, "Dude, just eat it, man," and he refused to eat it. Um, we'd be like riding our bikes around and stuff. We'd all get thirsty because back then we didn't have water bottles on our bikes, so we'd all get thirsty and we'd stop at places that had water fountains, right? And we'd drink water because that's what you do when you're thirsty. He would never drink water at the water fountain. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. And me and my friends would talk about it sometimes. Like, dude, why doesn't he ever drink water ever or eat anything ever? It's kind of strange. Like, it's just weird. Like, what kid doesn't do that? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Whatever. Maybe he goes home and drinks. I don't know. Anyway, so one day we're playing Smear the Queer by this mansion. There was a dirt field by the mansion, and we're playing Smear the Queer. I know that's not socially acceptable, but I don't care. That's what we called it, and I'm going to continue calling that despite what the leftist agenda is. Don't care. I'm going to say whatever words I want to say. If they're offensive, tough. Learn to be an adult and tolerant. Anyway, so what this game was, it's like you throw the football up, and then whoever caught the football was the queer, and then everyone would try to tackle that person. That's how the game goes. And we didn't care that it was in dirt. We did it anyway. Anyway, so we're playing this, and then all of a sudden everyone stops playing. And everyone's looking up at the mansion, up at one of the windows. And I'm like, whoa, why did everyone just stop playing? So I look up the window to see what everyone's looking at. And And they're like, oh, I thought maybe the owners were here or something. And they're like, oh, dude, you should like go inside there. I don't know what they were looking at, but because I didn't see anything. But they go, we should go inside the mansion, right? And I was like, oh, okay, that'd be kind of cool. So the buddy, that friend I just met that never ate food or anything, he's like, hey, let's go in together. I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds good. So there was a stairs on the outside of the mansion that went in like in a spiral, but it was like a square spiral. So it wasn't, you know what I'm talking about, like a spiral but square shaped. So we went up these stairs to go to this. It was weird. The stairs led to a half door. I don't know what to call it. It wasn't quite a door. It wasn't quite a window. So I call it a half door. It was like a short door. I don't know. It was weird. I never saw a house like that with such a small window door, and it just didn't make sense. But anyway, so I'm sure it serves some purpose. I just don't know. I never looked it up. I don't know why you'd have such a small door. Anyway, so we're walking up these stairs. We get about halfway up the stairs, and everyone's screaming. That's down below on the ground that we're playing the game with. They're like, "Dude, run! Get out of here!" So I'm thinking, "Oh my God, the cops or the owners here, something like that, right?" So I'm jamming down the stairs. That buddy's with me. We're jamming down the stairs. The people that were in the field are already partway down this like alleyway that led to the field. I get down to the field. I want to see what it was because my curiosity, just I've always been a very curious person, so I'm like, I got to know why we're running. So I turn back around to see what we're running from. I look everywhere. I see nothing. I don't see cops. I don't see anybody. And so I'm looking at the house to see what possibly are we running from. In one of the windows, true story. I don't lie. In one of the windows, there's like a image of a lady. I guess she was a lady. I assume it was a lady because it kind of looked like a dress, maybe. But the face just had holes for eyes and a mouth. Like they were just holes, like just darkness. So I can kind of see the this part of the face and the forehead a little bit, but like where eyes and a mouth should be were like just dark. And I suppose you might be able to get that with the right lighting, but this person was not opaque. Like it was very clear. It was like either a projection or like how the ghosts look at in Disneyland, how they look like because they literally are a projection. That's what it looked like. It looked like a Disneyland projection just sitting there in the window staring at me. And I don't know how I knew it was staring at me because it didn't have eyeballs, but somehow I knew it was staring at me. And I was fascinated. I went into this weird trance. I was no longer scared. I didn't want to run anymore. I just stood there and stared at it. And I was mesmerized is the best way to describe it. And then all of a sudden, that kid came and grabbed my shoulder and he pulled me out of this trance. Like he just ripped my shoulder really hard. And he goes, dude, run. And I'm like, okay, like I'm back in reality again. And I turn around and I start running. I kid you not. The second I turn around and start running, that kid is gone. Like I'm like, what? Like he just grabbed my shoulder. Where did he go? Like he literally just grabbed my shoulder and said, run. And I saw him. And when I turned around, he was gone. And I'm looking behind me. I'm running. I'm looking every direction. I'm like, where could he go? It's an open field. You can't just disappear like that. No one's that fast, right? He'd have to be like faster than Superman. Like it made no sense to me. And so I eventually catch up to my other friends because they had started slowing down. And I caught up to all the group of friends. I'm like, hey, where did that kid go? I forget what his name is now. I think it was Josh or something. I'm like, where did that kid go, man? And they're like, I don't know. He was with you, we thought. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought too. He grabbed my shoulder. I turn around. Like, no, that's crazy, man. Maybe just imagine it. I'm like, no, I didn't imagine it. He grabbed my shoulder. But he wasn't with you guys? Like, no, he wasn't with us. He was with you. He stayed back there with you the whole time. And I never saw that kid again, ever. That was the last time any of us ever saw that kid. None of my friends ever saw him again. I never saw him again. And that was it. It was weird. Years later, I started hypothesizing if all that was real, what could that kid possibly be? The only explanation I can think of, because remember at first the kid was trying to get me to buy this mansion, to go live in it. Right? And then all of a sudden I get mesmerized by this thing in the window and he pulls me away from it. The only thing I could think of is this kid was maybe the reason why the kid didn't eat or drink anything is he was actually some sort of ghost. And he was trying to lure me into the house, but then had to change a heart at the last minute and then like snap me out of the mesmerizing and told me to go. I don't know. It sounds crazy. Saying that out loud sounds so insane. It just sounds crazy to me. That was the best theory I had. I really don't know what to make of what that kid was. Really strange though. You can't just disappear. People don't just vanish while you're running. And I've tried to like think of any other explanation. Like, only other explanation I can think of is I hallucinated him grabbing my shoulder and pulling me out of the trance. I mean, I suppose another maybe plausible explanation is I didn't hallucinate. He actually physically grabbed my shoulder and yanked me out of the trance, but maybe I was still partway in the trance, so it took me several seconds to actually snap. After he grabbed my shoulder, it took me several seconds to snap back into reality and start running. But from my point of view, I instantly ran. But in reality, maybe I didn't instantly run. Maybe I just stood there spaced out staring at the ground for like a minute, and that gave him enough time to run a different direction. And by the time I actually snapped out of that and started running, he was already gone. But that doesn't agree with my conscious experience. My conscious experience was he grabs my shoulder, I see him, I start running, and then he's gone. So yeah, it's strange. Yeah, no, that's the part I don't know how to explain either. Is I've never been able to be touched by a ghost, so to my knowledge, they are incapable of doing that, and they're incapable of riding bicycles and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what he was. He was weird. Everyone agreed with that, though. Everyone agreed this kid was weird. Like right away, when everyone met him, they're like, "Dude, Neil, why'd you bring this guy around? He's weird." All my friends asked me. Like every time I introduced him to my other friends, afterwards they all asked me, "Dude, why did you bring that? He's so weird, man. Why did you bring him around?" Everyone thought he was a weirdo, and everyone thought it was weird that he didn't eat food and that he didn't drink water. He didn't drink anything. He didn't eat or drink anything ever. He never went to the bathroom. Like, when you hang out 8 hours a day, because, when we were kids, we would hang out 6 to 8 hours a day, nonstop, right? 6 to 8 hours we'd spend all day together, riding bikes, skateboarding, playing football, hanging out, hide and seek, all that stuff, right? For that entire 6 to 8 hours, he would not eat nothing, he would not drink anything, and he would not go to the bathroom. That was weird. Who doesn't go to the bathroom? Who doesn't drink? Who doesn't eat? So it's strange. So yeah, I don't know what to make of it. It's just one of those strange things that happens that I I don't know how to explain. I've tried to think of all different kinds of explanations that will work, but any explanation I come up with that seems to work contradicts my conscious experience. So yeah, don't know what to make of it. I don't really think about it all that much anyway. Like I've learned to just kind of not really think about it too much. But now that I told the story, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm like thinking about it. I'm like trying to think of other explanations. Like what else can I think of I've never thought of before? Have you still been getting first place? By the way, this is my wife right now playing this game in the background live. She's been playing this whole time live in the background. Have you still been getting first place? Hold on a second. I gotta pause. I gotta mute my mic to. I don't want to yell in your guys' ear. So she's in second right now. This is the hard map to get first on. This map is so, yeah. This map is so chaotic. This map's insane. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been streaming now for 3 hours. I think that's long enough. One last time, if anyone wants to add me on Modern Warfare, go to Modern Warfare, click on whatever you need to click on Socialize, click on Add Friend. Make sure if you have to choose Activision, choose Activision. And when you want to add friend, you have to search and just search for this name here. 458 3482. There we go. So search that name right there, and that's me. Just add that name. That will add me on your Modern Warfare friends list. and then I'll accept it. Matter of fact, I'm going to check really fast just to see if anyone has actually added me. I'm actually about to go play right now with the wife, so me and the wife are about to go play some games, some Modern Warfare. I'll probably warm up with Shoot House. Shoot House 24/7. Give me just a second here. Shut up, dum dum. You don't even know what you're meowing at. And let's see here. I'm trying to see where it shows. It's a little bit different on here versus PS4. On PS4, you hit triangle and hit triangle again, and it'll show you an option for people that recently tried to add you. Oh, here we go. You have to click on Add Friends first, and then you click on Friend Request. Okay, that's how it works. Oh, cool. So I got 2 friend requests. So I'll go and add them. See if I accept that one and accept that one. Okay, cool. So yeah, if you guys want to add me, that's how you do it. I'm going to close this. Actually, I don't have to close it. I'm just going to go to Options and go to Windowed instead of full screen. So I can get back here and see you guys. Okay, cool. There we go. Got all that figured out. Let me read what you guys said real quick. Oh, the chat was called Paltalk. It's free software. You can download it to your phone, tablet, or PC. It's pretty intuitive, like how to use it. The room that I go to the religious section, or I think it's called religion, and then Christianity, and then it's called the other debate room. And we discuss all kinds of stuff. Like I said, we discuss religion, we discuss science, philosophy. It's pretty fun. It's fun when the discussion gets going. Sometimes it's just discussion stupid, so. But yeah. All right, guys, double peace. Thanks for stopping in. I much appreciate your guys' time that you come here and want to listen to me ramble about stupid shit and answer questions about marijuana. That's awesome. I thank you for all your guys' support, for watching the YouTube channel, for all those that have subscribed. If you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and notification bell. You know the deal. Because if you don't hit the notification bell, then YouTube won't tell you shit if you want to be updated when I come out with new videos and stuff. So, all right, cool. I'll see you guys in the next video or the next live. And the wife says thank you for watching her. If you were watching her gameplay in the background there. And yeah, so. Oh, and we also might start streaming when we game together, when we're doing our gaming. Like when we do Modern Warfare and stuff, we might start streaming that on the gaming channel. So if you don't already have my gaming channel, I have it linked inside this channel. So if you just go to my other channels, like if you go to my, you should know how to do it. Just click on my name, and that takes to my homepage of this channel. On the right there, it should show you my other channels. And we have the gaming one, PS4 something. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, has the red Hindu Om symbol for the icon. All right, for real. Goodbye this time. Until next time.